I, Hermione, travel through time to Marvel to be the savior. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 501 Yan's Ring. Now Hermione was dressed as a detective, and she seemed to like this kind of role-playing very much. Yan looked at Hermione in a daze. Hermione also took out a pair of glasses and put them on, and said in a detective tone, "I'm afraid you can see that I am also a detective expert." Yan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He didn't know what Hermione was playing, but he still nodded in cooperation. Yan was not in a good mood. Strictly speaking, he was not in a good mood now. However, as a famous detective, Hermione's subsequent reasoning surprised the latter. "Do you know why your cultivation has not only not increased, but is still declining?" In one sentence, it hit Yan's heart. 3 years have passed. Do you know how Yan has been through these 3 years? As a time traveler, and once the first young genius of the family, he has fallen to this point. Not only was he ridiculed by his fellow tribesmen, but his fiancée also broke off the engagement. A life that is difficult to look back on. Hermione acted like a detective who could always analyze and deduce the cause of the problem. He said, "According to my observation, the chi you cultivated cannot be condensed in your body because of an item." "An item?" Yan was extremely surprised. He didn't know whether Hermione was serious or joking. The sun shone through the gaps in the apple tree, and the light spots fell on Hermione's face. Her beautiful big eyes were filled with seriousness and wisdom. It didn't seem like she was joking. "Yan, you have to understand that everything happens for a reason," Hermione said bluntly. "According to my speculation, you only need to take off this ring, and it's best to throw it away directly. Then your cultivation speed will return to the genius state it once was." This. Yan didn't expect this answer. He looked at Hermione in surprise, and then looked at his ring in surprise. He said in confusion, "This is what my mother left me. If the problem is this item, then I couldn't condense the chi 3 years ago." Yan's words were not wrong. However, Hermione didn't want to say it too clearly. She knew that Yao and the ring could definitely hear it at this moment. Hermione was not used to revealing all her knowledge. She replied, "I have only guessed that there is something wrong with the ring on you. The rest is not clear. If you trust me, then take off this ring now and throw it away." Yan hesitated. Hermione's explanation was not clear enough. He didn't know whether to believe it or not. Yan looked into Hermione's eyes again. Her eyes were so beautiful, and an indescribable firmness and clarity were revealed in them. Finally, Yan made up his mind and said, "Okay, I believe you." After that, Yan took off the ring and threw it directly under the tree. There was a cliff on the other side. In the original play, Yan threw the culprit ring directly under the cliff, because he had learned all the reasons why his cultivation had stagnated. On this side, Hermione did not produce any evidence, but just played the role of a detective, and then gave the answer in a few words. It was already very good that Yan could trust her and take off the ring. A miracle happened. When Yan got out of the ring, the fighting force in his body immediately became much smoother. The immediate effect shocked Yan. Could it be that the problem really came from this ring? At this time, Hermione's system prompted, "Congratulations on completing the option 3 task. Reward basic attribute +1. Hermione was successful and did not stay any longer. She felt that the old immortal in the ring would jump out and curse. "Hermione, an outsider, would be inconvenient to stay here." "Yan, I have something else to do. I'll leave first." Without giving more reasons, Hermione turned around and left. Yan was a little stunned, not understanding what Hermione was doing. Hermione had just left when something strange happened. Although the ring was a relic and very precious, now was not the time to take care of it. Yan carefully felt the changes in his body. Suddenly, a white-haired old man appeared directly from the ring that Yan had just discarded. The old man looked like a ghost. He first looked in the direction where Hermione left, and seemed to be thinking about something. How did that little girl find him? Hermione didn't give an explanation just now, so the white-haired old man didn't know. Who are you? Yan was very surprised that there was a ghost living in the ring he had been wearing. The old man said calmly, "Little kid, do you know who I am?" Yan didn't expect that his ring would have such a big problem. Thinking of the humiliation he had suffered in the past 3 years, he was very angry and said, "I don't care who you are. Why do you live in my ring?" The old man replied, "This is a long story. I will tell you slowly later. Just now, the little girl asked you to throw away the ring, which is not correct. Although I have been absorbing your fighting spirit for the past 3 years, I will help you in the future." In Yao Lao's opinion, when he can recover his strength, with his erudition, he only needs to give Yan a little guidance, which will be enough for him to benefit endlessly. When Yan heard Yao Lao admit that all the qi he had cultivated for 3 years was sucked away by him, he could not hold back any longer. Yan was furious and roared, "Old thing, it was you? It was you who made me go from a genius to a waste, and I was ridiculed by the whole clan for 3 years, and you also made me suffer the humiliation of divorce today. Damn it, you old bastard." Yan was so angry that he rushed over. Yao Lao thought Yan was going to fight him to death, but the next second, Yan picked up the ring on the ground, threw it hard, and threw it directly under the cliff. Out of sight, out of mind. Only in this way can Yan's hatred be slightly resolved. Yao Lao fell off the cliff with the ring and smiled bitterly. This Yan really had a hot temper. Yao Lao had no choice. He was the only one who could absorb Yan's qi, and he could do it without anyone noticing. Yao Lao only needed to recover a little so that he could have the ability to protect himself before doing other things. In the past 3 years, Yan had to bear the grudge. Yao Lao said that he would repay Yan. Originally, even if Hermione, the strange female detective, had not come out, Yao Lao was going to show up. Yao Lao knew that Yan was currently discouraged and under great pressure, and Yao Lao was afraid that he would not be able to let it go. However, before he came out to give Yan a big surprise, the little girl Hermione suddenly ran over. The little girl was not simple, and Yao Lao could not see through her. When Hermione said something important to Yan, she directly used high-level magic to block Yao Lao in the ring. However, Hermione's soul perception was as strong as Yan's. Yan was a good seedling for practicing alchemy, and the same was true for the little girl Hermione. Hermione slipped away too quickly, otherwise Yao Lao would have many questions to ask her. At this moment, Yao Lao and the ring were thrown off the cliff by the angry Yan. Yan seemed to be exhausted, kneeling on the ground, gasping for breath. He said bitterly, "I didn't expect that the reason for everything was just that little ring, and inside it lived an old bastard who sucked people's marrow. Why didn't I find out earlier? If I were as smart as Hermione, I wouldn't have suffered so many years of humiliation. I am such a big fool." In the original drama, Yan didn't feel stupid, but there was no horizontal comparison. With the genius Hermione here, it was impossible for Yan not to find out how stupid he was. Chapter 502, The Legend of Yao Lao. In fact, Yan still overlooked one thing, that is, Hermione's growth is far beyond Yan's ability. This year, Yan is 15 years old, which means that he has been traveling through the Qi continent for 15 years. In fact, 3 years ago, Yan lived a very enjoyable life in the Zhao family of Wun City, cultivating geniuses and having beautiful women as company. Hermione's time of traveling through time is not as long as Yan's, but Hermione's time after traveling through time is much more precious than Yan's time of idling, so Hermione's strength is far beyond Yan's imagination. If he really compares his time of idling with Hermione who has a system plug-in, then he is a fool. Comparing people makes people angry. Most of the time, you can't make such random comparisons. Before Yan could blame himself for being so stupid, the old medicine man flew up from the bottom of the cliff with the ring, perhaps out of pity, or perhaps because he thought Yan was the true son of heaven. Even if Yan threw him off the cliff in anger, the old medicine man was not angry. Instead, he smiled. Actually, Hermione didn't really leave, she just became invisible. She had been in the Qi continent for more than a day, waiting for this moment to learn secretly. Hermione was lazy. If she could learn secretly by letting things flow, she would not bother to look for it everywhere. In fact, with her current strength, As long as she stepped out of her comfort zone and ventured into the vast Qi continent, she could learn any fighting skills and techniques. However, that would be very tiring. She would need to check and find them herself. There might be certain risks. Now Hermione was still unwilling to step out of her comfort zone. She loved learning, but she liked to learn comfortably and safely, rather than wandering around and learning from 9 to 5. Learning by letting things flow is already great. I don't want to see you again, you old man, get out of here. This old man was very bad. He sucked away the force that Jian had worked hard to cultivate for 3 years, causing him to not only have difficulty in improving his level, but also fall to the 3rd stage of force. It was so hateful. When Jian saw Yao Lao, he wanted to tear him apart. Calm down first. Yao Lao actually began to blame Hermione. It's all that girl's fault. I wanted to show up on a sunny day and explain to you properly, but that girl's words made me so passive. The feeling of showing up on your own initiative and being forced to show up is completely different. You bad old man still have the nerve to blame Hermione? Diane was extremely angry. If it weren't for her, I would still be in the dark. Damn old man, don't force me to fight you. Diane couldn't do anything to Yao Lao in this soul body. Otherwise, Diane would have crushed him to ashes long ago. Little guy, I know you are very angry now. Yao Lao still looked like a kind old man and said, but if I can help you, in the next year, to improve your cultivation to the 7th stage of fighting power, and return all the fighting power I absorbed from you to you, you will feel better. Hearing this, Diane's heart naturally moved. However, Diane was also very alert and said, I don't believe you. If you continue to harm me, I'm really stupid. Yao Lao's next words left Diane speechless and furious. You only have the 3rd stage of Zillion now. What else is there for me to harm you? Damn it, it's all because of you. After seeing Diane's mood stabilize, Yao Lao floated in front of Diane and smiled. Could it be that you are so angry with me because of the loss of a fiancé? That little Lin Yanran is indeed quite pretty. However, if you recognize me as your master, I will let you roam the entire Qi continent one day. The small Jiama Empire is too small. Seeing the old man bragging, Diane sneered directly. You are so arrogant, and I don't know who it is. Shameless, disrespectful to the elderly, absorbing the cultivation of a child in the Ziqi realm. Yao Lao was a little embarrassed. There is no need to talk about the past. Anyway, if you accept me as your master, I can not only teach you the strongest skills and fighting techniques in the Qi continent, but also train you to become a pharmacist. At this point, Diane was finally moved. He also understood that it was useless to blame this old man. He must have been down and out and had to absorb his own fighting force to survive. Even if this old man had countless reasons, Diane would not forgive him. However, at this time, he should gain benefits from this old man. Only by getting back what he lost is the most important thing. Are you a pharmacist? Yao Lao stroked his beard and said proudly, the Dan Wang Gu He, the #1 pharmacist in your Jiama Empire, is not good enough in my eyes. So awesome. Diane scolded, you are exaggerating. Yao Lao was anxious. When I became famous, Cheng Strongman had to ask me for help. Damn. Diane would like to call him the #1 braggart in the bragging world for being able to brag like this. The strength levels in Qi continent are very clear, which is completely different from Hogwarts and Marvel world. Ziki, Duz, Daoshi, Didushi, Bling, Duang, Duang, Duzon, Zun, Daoshing, Dowdy. Each level corresponds to different strengths. Unlike Hogwarts and Marvel, the strength levels are very vague, which sometimes makes superheroes feel very powerful, but sometimes they feel very weak. In the Jiama Empire, Duang is a super strong man close to the ceiling, a legend, not to mention Duzon, Zun and Daoshing above. In the eyes of Yan, who is still a small shrimp in the Ziki realm, this old man of the ring ghost who needs to absorb his own cultivation to survive is really bragging without paying taxes, and he is bragging hard. Why don't you say that you used to be a dowdy, and then fell into this ring, and finally survived by absorbing me, a young man in the Ziki realm? Yao Lao was a little embarrassed. It's been many years since a emperor appeared in the Qi continent. To be honest, I used to be the #1 alchemist in the Qi continent, and my own strength was also at the peak of Zun. in order to prevent Yan from looking down on me. Yao Lao also brought out his legendary name. He was indeed very glorious back then. It's a pity. Now he needs to absorb the cultivation of a chi kid to survive, which is really embarrassing. Yan sighed. Although you are really good at bragging, I still can't trust you completely. You must improve my strength as soon as possible. Let me see if I really have the ability, and then I will decide whether to become your disciple. First, you have to repay the chi that you have absorbed from me in the past 3 years. Yao Lao smiled. You are really a kid who doesn't suffer any loss at all. Okay then. Yao Lao thought for a while and said, go and prepare 3 complete purple leaf orchid grasses, 2 bone-washing flowers, and a wood-type first-level magic core, and I will help you refine a secret medicine to quickly improve your cultivation. After hearing this, Yan was not surprised, but complained. These 3 things were very valuable to him, and he didn't have that much money. Yan suggested that Yao Lao take the money. Yao Lao waved his hand. It's a miracle that I can survive in the state of a soul. How can I have money? Yan, if you can't even solve such a small matter as money, then don't even think about becoming a strong man. Humphrey. Yan ignored him. However, Yao Lao seemed to have opened his mouth. He had been hiding in the ring for many years and had never spoken. Today he finally came out, so naturally he had to talk. To Hermione, who was eavesdropping on the side, the previous conversation between Yao Lao and Yan was all nonsense. Next, Yao Lao began to explain to Yan how to practice correctly in the Qi continent, the importance of alchemists to practitioners, and other common sense issues, and explained them in detail. These are all science knowledge, and they are very important. Even as a god, now Hermione will seriously learn things she doesn't know, because she knows that Yao Lao is indeed a capable legendary figure. And Yan, after hearing the old man's eloquent and well-reasoned talk, and some theoretical knowledge that was indeed extensive and profound, gradually came to believe that this old man did have some skills. Chapter 503. Yan asks Hermione to borrow money. If she had not traveled through time, now Hermione would definitely take notes when she encountered useful knowledge points. Some people don't like to study, and it is really painful to force them to study. But Hermione is not one of them. She really likes to study. Perhaps it has something to do with her innate uniqueness. As long as she doesn't know something, she finds it interesting even if she has to look up information and verify it. Interest is always the first motivation for learning. The theoretical knowledge that Yao Lao talked about may make people who don't study much fall asleep, but it is more obvious that Hermione listened with relish. Just like in the classroom at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, Hermione listened very seriously to what she didn't know. Now Hermione's physical attributes are relatively high, so she can also remember well through her brain. It is said that a good brain is not as good as a bad pen, but for Hermione, who is becoming more and more like a god, there is undoubtedly another result. Hermione knew that Yan, who accepted Yao Lao's instruction, would definitely ask Zhao for money. There was no doubt that in the Zhao family, the only person who had money and would lend money to Yan without hesitation was Zhao. At the Zhao family, Hermione was thinking about where to find Zhao, but she never expected that Yan would take the initiative to find her. Hermione said with a prophetic look, "Are you going to ask me where Zhao is?" Unexpectedly, Yan suddenly said shyly, "I was planning to find Sister Zhao, but it should be okay to meet you." Hermione suddenly frowned. Sure enough, Yan actually spoke shamelessly. "Hermione, can you lend me some money?" What the hell? Didn't this Yan ask Zhao for money in the original drama? Why did he go directly to her now? Do you really think she is a rich woman? Hey, you know what? I seem to be a rich woman. Under Yan's expectant eyes, Yan knew that Zhao had money, but after his understanding of Hermione, this strange woman should also have a way. Wait a minute. What's wrong? If you don't have, I won't force it. Yan and Hermione still felt a little uncomfortable borrowing money. After all, no matter how good a friendship is, once it comes to borrowing money, it will be subtle. Either lose money, or lose friends. Only one of the two can be chosen. Just when Yan wanted to give up, the next scene that surprised and shocked him happened so abruptly. Hermione suddenly bent down, and she seemed to have picked up something suddenly. The size of the thing was not small. There was a sack, which looked like someone's garbage. Hermione seemed to be accustomed to the luck of picking up good things when walking out. She opened it calmly. Yen on the side was not calm. The sack was full of golden coins. Hermione weighed it and found it was about 5 or 6 kilograms. He didn't know which bastard had dropped it. Hermione grabbed a handful and found it was quite new. It was a newly minted gold coin. You just said you wanted to borrow money. How much do you want to borrow? Yen swallowed bitterly and said, Is this something you just picked up? Lend it to me. It was true that Yen came to borrow money. The 3 kinds of medicinal materials given by Yao Lao were worth a lot of money. He, a useless young master, had no money and couldn't afford them at all. However, while talking, Hermione picked up a sack of gold coins from the ground and then turned around to lend it to him. Yen always felt that he shouldn't find the owner first. Is there a problem? Hermione said calmly, What I picked up is mine. How much do you want to borrow? Forget it. I'm not short of money anyway. I'll lend it all to you. Then he threw the sack of gold coins to Yen, but after thinking about it, it was not possible. She had to keep what she had just picked up overnight, otherwise it would appear in her pocket inexplicably the next day. So, she took it back from Yen and put it in the space ring, and then took out a few gold bars and gave them to Yen. Gold coins are circulating currency, so gold bars must be usable too. Hermione was worried that if she gave this sack of gold coins to Yen, then the next day, this sack of gold coins would be returned again, and it would be troublesome to explain it at that time. It would be better to give Yen the gold he had picked up before. Anyway, Hermione has 10% more luck than normal people. In addition to picking up important task props, she also picked up the most gold, silver and jewelry. But this scene was not the case in Yen's eyes. His eyes were very strange. This Hermione is indeed a wonderful woman. The two of them were together, and he didn't notice that Hermione turned around and picked up a sack of gold coins. And Hermione lent him the sack first, as if she was worried that the owner would come and find out. Hermione immediately put it back into the storage ring, took out the melted and recast gold bars, so that outsiders could not recognize it at all. You are really worthy of it. Very professional. Yen felt that in this regard, he should learn more from Senior Hermione. It is not without reason that the other party can be so popular in the Zhao family with the strength of the 3rd stage of fighting power. Hermione frowned and looked at Yen. Why are you looking at me like this? Nothing. I just think you are so awesome. Hermione smiled and said, Don't worship me. There is no result in liking me. Don't like me. I am a legend. Yen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Although Hermione was indeed very beautiful, she was not so narcissistic. However, Yen still said, Thank you. You must have more gold bars than I have lent you. Hermione joked, When you get rich in the future, just pay me back double. As he was talking, Zhao actually came over. Yen did intend to find Zhao, and so did Hermione. Coincidentally, Yen met Hermione first. Fortunately, in Yen's mind, Hermione might also have money, and Hermione had also helped Yen, and the two were both time travelers. Yen even subconsciously felt that it would be more comfortable to borrow money from his fellow villager Hermione than from Zhao. What are you doing here, brother Yen? How come you have so many gold bars in your hand? Although Yen is the 3rd young master of the Zhao family, he not only has a low cultivation level and no money, but also no precious items. For example, Yen does not have a storage ring at the moment. He can only hold the gold bars that Hermione lent him. Before Hermione could answer Yen awkwardly, an option box popped up in front of her. Option 1. Tells Hermione that she is lending money at high interest rates. If Yen cannot pay back the money 10 times in 3 days, she will chop off one of his hands. Completing the task will reward you with the exclusive attribute, Cruel, +1. Option 2. Tell Zhao the truth and invite her to go shopping with Yen tomorrow. Completing the task will reward you with the basic attribute +1. Option 3. Pretend to have no money, ask Zhao to borrow some, and tell her that she borrowed the money based on her own ability, so why should she pay it back? Completing the task will reward you with the exclusive attribute, Make Money, +1. It is indeed quite cruel, lending money at high interest rates to Yan, 10 times, and chopping off his hand if he cannot pay it back. Although it sounds like a joke when said out loud, but this kind of joke is not funny. Option 3, this method of making money, of borrowing money and not paying it back is quite alternative. However, Hermione is a rich woman. She is not short of money, even if she is pretending. She doesn't think it is necessary. Chapter 504, Hermione, the domineering woman. In the past 2 days, Hermione spent more time with Yan, and Alexander didn't get too jealous. Perhaps it was because Hermione was surrounded by a special temperament, so Alexander didn't treat Hermione as an ordinary woman. Hermione behaved generously and would not let others think that she was the kind of person who would be jealous, commonly known as a domineering woman. When Hermione told Alexander what happened, Alexander couldn't help laughing and said, "Brother Yan actually borrowed money." Alexander looked at Yan carefully and found that the latter seemed to be very different from before. This feeling was not an illusion. After Lin Qingyun broke off the engagement, Brother Yan not only did not suffer a major blow, but cheered up. Yan was a little embarrassed, but he was not ashamed. "I have no choice. In fact, I didn't borrow money from Hermione. I also planned to ask you," Alexander said. Hermione is very generous and gave gold bars directly. As for me, she would consider giving gold coins or bank cards. In Key Continent, there is a kind of card called a deposit card, which is similar to a bank card. Only people with noble status can have it. Alexander was halfway through her words when she thought that since Hermione had already lent money to Yan, there was no need for her to say anything more. Hermione suggested, "Yan borrowed money to buy important items. How about you accompany him tomorrow?" Alexander blushed slightly when she heard Hermione's invitation. In the original play, she lent money to Yan alone, so she was naturally with Yan. Here, it was Hermione who lent money to Yan, but she had to follow him, which made her feel a bit like a third party. However, Hermione was open and aboveboard, and she was domineering, but she would not let others have extra thoughts. You only need to pay more attention to Hermione's eyes to understand that her eyes are clear and she is obviously not the kind of woman who will make people intrigue. If Yan doesn't mind, I think I can do it. Alexander didn't dare to look at Yan's eyes. The main reason was that she felt that she was not as good as Hermione. She was like a little woman and still had improper thoughts about Yan. Her appearance was in line with her heart, so she was naturally not as generous as the upright Hermione. Yan actually became cheerful after he found out that the cause of his physical problems was from the ring medicine old man. Although he and Lin Qingyun had a 3-year agreement, but the secret of his stagnant cultivation for many years was finally discovered, which was naturally a very happy thing. He had to thank Hermione in his heart. This wonderful woman turned into a detective Sherlock Holmes and actually discovered this important secret. If not, it is unknown how long the shameless medicine old man would remain dormant and devour the fighting spirit in his body. "I am honored to have Sister Xunner accompany me. How can I refuse?" Just like that, the three of them agreed to go to the market together tomorrow. That night, Yan began to practice. This time, there was no medicine old man to steal his cultivation. Yan practiced all night and felt that the genius cultivation speed he once had returned. When he thought about the fact that he had been secretly stolen his fighting spirit by that abominable Yao Lao for the past 3 years, he was so angry that he could not stop talking. "If he can't help me, I must get rid of him in the ring next time. This kind of harmful thing is a disaster if it is kept around." Even Yan has begun to fear this ring persecution delusion. It's not that Yan has not tried hard in the past 3 years, but no matter how hard he tried, his cultivation level not only did not rise at all, but plummeted. This kind of pain cannot be understood by those who are not involved. Fortunately, Yan is strong enough, otherwise, the defense line of ordinary people would have collapsed long ago. Broken jars are broken, walking corpses, muddle-headed, and completely useless. Yan easily felt that his cultivation level was improving and that the ring was no longer stolen by Yao Lao, and he was in a good mood. Opening the doors and windows, he felt that the sun was so bright for the first time. Life was suddenly filled with new hope. Living with hope and living in despair are two completely different feelings. Hermione was not idle last night. She began to practice the skills on the Dqi continent, picking up a few books from the secret room of the Zhao family. For the godlike Hermione, as long as she wanted, this kind of thing was easy. Her practice speed was also amazing. It was completely different from the first time she traveled through Hogwarts. At that time, although she was a female academic master in the real world, she was not as talented in magic as Hermione Granger in the wizarding world. However, with the improvement of her various attributes, coupled with her other abilities, by analogy, in just one night, Hermione learned 3 skills, and at the same time, she condensed the real qi in her body, and raised it to the level of the 5th stage of Li in one fell swoop. Although this level is still a weak chicken level in the Dqi continent, Hermione did not feel lost. After all, she is not relying on qi to make a living at present. The next day, she went to find Zhao first. Zhao is beautiful, but the more beautiful a girl is, the more she likes to put on makeup. Light makeup also requires eyebrows, which determine whether the entire facial features are coordinated, and whether the big eyes are transparent and bright. As a top beauty of the same level, Hermione naturally has a say. In the past, she would also spend a long time dressing up. No girl can refuse to become more beautiful, unless she is lazy. That's right, later Hermione's magic became more and more advanced, and she no longer spent a lot of time doing these. Only a few simple magics were needed to solve it, and it was also abnormally perfect. Hermione couldn't show magic in front of Zhao, mainly because it was troublesome to explain, so she helped Zhao draw eyebrows. The two were very close, as if they could smell each other's sweet breath. The soft sunlight in the early morning made Hermione's beautiful skin look transparent. Zhao looked at the beauty and scenery in front of her, and her heartbeat began to accelerate. It turns out that Hermione is so charming. She is also a girl, but I am a little moved. However, Zhao is a lady from a noble family, so she will naturally not be as useless as Hermione. She concealed her fluttering emotions and changed the subject, saying, Hermione, you are really amazing. It seems that you know everything. Hermione gently pulled Zhao chin, turned her equally perfect little face and looked at it carefully, then smiled and said, you are really beautiful. I know a lot of things. You will understand them naturally after more contact in the future. Hermione was not overly modest. Being low-key is a cautious psychological attitude when facing danger, which does not mean that she is also timid in daily life. Moreover, as long as Hermione does not commit suicide, her powerful ability is enough to protect herself. Seeing Hermione releasing the charm of a wonderful woman all the time, Zhao also had some insights. It would be great if I could be as cool as you. I wanted to do her own thing today, but she couldn't help but want to find Hermione, even if it was just to ask for another delicious chicken leg. But this time I didn't come empty-handed. She also made some delicious pastries and wanted to exchange with Hermione. However, she arrived too late and found nothing. When she arrived, Hermione, Zhao and Yan had already gone out together. Mai asked about it and felt very disappointed when she found out. Why did they go shopping together without asking her? Chapter 505, Stepping Stone Villain Galileo. Instead of promoting yourself, it is better to discredit others. If you are a selfish person, you will definitely think like this: it is others who are wrong, not yourself. It is others who are ruthless and have no sense of public morality. It cannot be said that others are all good and there are no bad ones. But you have to think about both ends of everything. Think about the mistakes of others first. Then look back and think about whether you have done something wrong. In the past, Mai rarely thought about her own mistakes, but under the influence of Hermione, she also had this kind of self-examination in her heart. Is it my own problem that Zhao and Hermione did not choose to take me to play together? That's right, since Zhao fell into poverty, Mai almost cut off all contact with the useless young master in order to protect herself. Although Zhao has not risen yet, the two beautiful girls of the Zhao family, Hermione and Zhao, are with Zhao. Of course, Mai still doesn't have much feeling for Zhao now. What she cares about is Hermione. Hermione is like a glowing fire, and Zhao is a moth who can't help but get close to the fire, bringing Zhao boring life a sense of freshness that others can't give, even if it will cause diarrhea, even if it will cause stomachache. So Zhao considered whether to join the small group of Zhao Hemin and Zhao Yan. Don't care whether Zhao Yan is a waste, just to be with Zhao Hemin. If you don't join, just like this time, Zhao didn't even know that the other party was playing together. Today, she came excitedly after making pastries, but came to nothing. If she joins that small group, then the next time they have an action together, they will definitely call her. Zhao lost heart began to make plans, not for Zhao Yan, but for Zhao Hemin. It must be said that Zhao decision has opened up new possibilities for her future. Zhao Yan has a beautiful woman as a companion, and life should be unrestrained and chic, especially the two of them. Their beauty and temperament are top-notch, and when they walk on the street, other men are envious and their tears are sore. It is this cool effect that when Zhao Yan, Zhao Hemin and Zhao Xun'er left the Zhao family together, they were noticed by many disciples in the clan. After Zhao search was in vain, it was easy to find out. Zhao Yan felt embarrassed because if it was only him and Zhao Xun'er, or only him and Zhao Hemin, then the other party would definitely talk and laugh with him all the way. But today, there are obviously two beautiful girls. But Zhao Yan felt that he became a light bulb instead, because it was obviously the two of them who accompanied him to the market and bought the medicinal materials mentioned by Yao Lao. Zhao Hemin and Zhao Xun'er talked and laughed, and they talked about food, beautiful clothes, and jewelry, and even topics such as how to take care of the skin. How could Zhao Yan, a grown man, talk to them? Zhao Xun'er was more considerate, seeing that Zhao Yan was like a piece of wood beside him. She would also care about him for Zhao Yan's brother's mood. Zhao Hemin didn't care about Zhao Yan's mood at all, but Zhao Yan cared about Zhao Hemin's mood. As he got to know her more and more, he found more and more that Zhao Hemin was special. In short, she was completely different from other girls. The market was very lively. Zhao Hemin and Zhao Xun'er were walking hand in hand, which was naturally the most beautiful scenery in the street. When Zhao Yan was selecting the herbs he needed, a middle-aged man came with a group of people. He thought they were here to cause trouble, but when he saw the logo on their clothes, he knew they were his own people. Master Zhao Yan, you are here. Uncle Pain. Zhao Yan naturally recognized this uncle. He was the captain of the guard directly appointed by his father, the patriarch, to protect this market. In the original drama, there didn't seem to be many scenes about this captain of the guard, and Zhao Hemin didn't remember it very clearly. However, when he heard Zhao Yan calling the other party's name, he couldn't help but laugh and said, "Pain, did you destroy the entire Konoha village with a move of Shinra Tensei?" There is no doubt that this Pain is not the Pain in Naruto. The two just have the same name. Miss Zhao Herman, you are joking. What Shinra Tensei? What Konoha village? Pain's guard captain was not angry. He was from the lineage of the Zhaozan clan leader and was loyal to Master Zhao Yan. Seeing that Zhao Xun'er and Zhao Herman did not care that Master Zhao Yan was a waste and accompanied the master to go shopping, he was naturally grateful. I was talking about a story in a novel, because I have the same name as you, Zhao Herman explained with a smile. Hearing this, Pain's guard captain also laughed. Zhao Xun'er also smiled, which was quite touching. Zhao Yan also smiled bitterly and shook his head. This Zhao Herman was too naughty. But for some reason, he actually felt familiar with Konoha village and Shinra Tensei, but he didn't think much about it. This was just a small episode. The real big episode is coming. After the departure of Captain Pain, the first real villain in Battle Through the Heavens is about to appear. Zhao Herman came here for him today. This is a novel world, and the personal charm of the villain is not as good as that in the Harry Potter series in the Marvel series, because most of the villains in the novels are there to give experience to the protagonist and become stepping stones. Zhao Herman came here because he knew that even if such a stepping stone villain appeared, it would trigger the system option task. Instead of waiting for the system prompt and rushing over, it is better to be with Zhao Yan and Zhao Xun'er in advance. Let it be triggered naturally, and then think about making the best choice. Hey, isn't this our Yuden City's beautiful sister Zhao Xun'er? How come you have time to visit the market today? The villain who spoke was Galio, whose family was one of the three major families named after the Zhao family in Yuden City. He is a famous dandy. He has been thinking about Zhao Xun'er's beauty for a long time, But Zhao is not an ordinary girl, and it is almost impossible for him to get close to her. But today, Galio suddenly noticed that there was another exotic and beautiful girl named Hermione with a completely different style. Who is this? Hermione saw that her identity was about to be exposed. The Zhao family was now familiar with her. Even without the influence of advanced magic, they all knew Hermione's demeanor. But Galio was a playboy from another family, so naturally he didn't know Hermione. However, Hermione cast a spell and immediately formed a superficial impression in Galio's mind. Oh, I remember, isn't this the beautiful and charming Miss Hermione of the Zhao family? Why, the two ladies are going out together today. Do you want me, Galio, to accompany you? In the original drama, because there was only one beautiful girl, Galio prepared gifts and wanted to please Zhao, but was instigated by Yan, the jealous bun. But in fact, he was also wasting his time. How could a beauty like Zhao look at a man like Galio? Here, Galio didn't prepare any gifts for Hermione, but just thinking about having two beautiful girls as company was so wonderful. No need for Master Galio, I am enough. As if Yan didn't exist. In the original drama, Yan was relatively low-key, because he didn't have enough strength and couldn't be high-profile. Here, perhaps Yan felt that Hermione, this amazing woman, was full of new possibilities, so his behavior was naturally bolder. Sorry, I didn't see it. It turns out that Master Yan, the notorious waste of the Zhao family, is here too. Galio deliberately teased, and the lackeys behind him laughed along with Galio. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 506. Hermione is so charming. Galio did not seem to give up and continued to ridicule Yan, and even mentioned that Yan was broken off by his fiancée. Lin Yanren's breaking off the engagement not only caused a stir in the Zhao family, but also became a joke in the entire Wutan city. Galio, don't go too far. Zhao began to feel disgusted. This playboy was entangled with her, and he dared to criticize her brother Yan. It was simply unreasonable. Sister Zhao, this Yan is just a waste. He is not worthy of you speaking for him like this. Galio did not feel that he had done anything wrong, but felt that Zhao was wrong. A world where the weak are preyed upon by the strong, the weak are born guilty, and the weak deserve to die. Any insult, any derogation, is natural to the weak. Yan was ready to use his verbal shield. When he was not strong enough, he could only rely on his eloquence. If he could not fight and could not talk, then he would really be hopeless. But before Yan could perform, the system immediately popped up a window in front of Hermione. Option 1. Go up and slap Galio's mouth to pieces, so that he will know that if he talks nonsense, he will be slapped. Complete the task and get a spicy duck head as a reward. Option 2. Applaud Galio for saying that as a waste, his only value is to be laughed at by others. Complete the task and get the exclusive attribute, kindness, +1. Option 3. Secretly use magic to make Galio's stomach ache, so painful that he can only leave immediately and has no intention of entangled with everyone. Complete the task and get the basic attribute +1. Hermione had thought of option 2 in advance, because sometimes the system will issue some tasks that collude with the villain. But is Hermione that kind of person? That little reward is not enough to make Hermione sell his soul. Option 1 can also be expected. After all, he is on the side of the protagonist. As for option 3, Hermione did not expect this, but undoubtedly, option 3 has the highest reward value, and it is also the best way for Hermione not to expose his own views. Hermione quickly released a magic spell. Galio was still admiring the two beautiful girls, but the next moment, he was in tragedy. Galio's stomach suddenly cramped and became more and more uncomfortable. Because of the stomachache, his face turned pale. In the end, Galio could only say awkwardly, "Sorry, Sister Zhao. Brother is a little unwell today. I will take you out to play next time." After saying that, he quickly slipped away with his legs clamped. Galio came and went in a hurry, Even Yan didn't say a few words. Don't pay attention to him. That guy is just a fly. Hermione made a summary. Alexander laughed and said, Hermione is right, that Galileo is a fly. Yan also laughed. When he was blocking the road, this Galileo looked quite healthy. Why did he suddenly have a stomachache? Is it a coincidence? Yan looked at Alexander. Sister Xander was fresh and elegant, and it must have nothing to do with her. Could it be that Hermione did it? The more Yan thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. Otherwise, how could Galileo be so unbearable for no reason? It must be said that Hermione really has a way to deal with enemies. The three of them regained their good mood at the beginning and helped Yan buy the things he needed. Hermione and Alexander also bought some things, mainly food. Hermione also wanted to try the snacks here. There was no mention of eating in the original drama, but Hermione would naturally pay attention to this. When they came to a small stall, Hermione noticed that Yan's ring suddenly emitted a wave of energy. It was understood that Yan was going to pick up treasures. Hermione noticed that it was a black iron piece that looked quite ordinary. If nothing unexpected happened, it should be a skill called suction palm. Sure enough, Yan started acting and pretended to buy the black iron piece casually. Hermione didn't care too much. It was just a small skill, not as convenient as Hermione's magic. Hermione was interested in Yao Lao's burning decree. Yao Lao has not yet taught it to Yan. When Yan's cultivation reaches the level of a fighter, Yao Lao will consider teaching it. At that time, Hermione will learn secretly. After returning, Hermione met Zhao, who had been waiting for a day. Seeing Zhao holding the cake with a wronged face, Hermione smiled and said, "Why do you look like that?" Zhao replied, "I've been waiting for you for a day." "What are you waiting for me for?" Zhao blushed and handed over the cake in her hand. "I made it myself. I won't eat your snacks for nothing." Hermione said, "So that's it? You want to eat spicy strips again?" No. I want to eat ice cream." Although spicy strips are delicious, Zhao still likes ice cream. "Okay then." Hermione took the cake made by Zhao, tasted it in front of her and said, "It's okay, but there's a little too much sugar." Although Hermione likes sweet food, too much sugar will make her feel a little sick. "Well, I will definitely improve it." Hermione casually took out the ice cream and gave it to Zhao. "Oh my god, it's a different flavor." Zhao's eyes lit up immediately when she saw the ice cream, and she immediately felt that it was worth waiting for a day. Alexander, who was not far away, saw this scene and also sighed to Yan. Hermione is so charming, and now Mai is almost her little follower. Yan also sighed. Mai treated him in the same way back then. Later, when his cultivation was not good enough, Mai left him. She has that kind of personality. After a long time, she will not be like this. Alexander has a different opinion. Hermione's charm may be bottomless. As long as Mai can't fully understand Hermione, Mai will continue to sink into it. On the contrary, although Yan was a genius at the beginning, it was easy to see the bottom. Mai felt that he was not interesting anymore, so she would naturally leave. Just like a star, in order to attract the continued attention of fans, you need to show your different charms. As for Hermione, with Alexander's smart eyes, she could see that she had a deep treasure hidden in her. It was very likely that Zhao would not be able to fully explore all the good things about Hermione in her lifetime. Yan was silent. He suddenly realized that even Alexander was looking at Hermione with concern. Alexander said that Zhao was attracted to her, and she was not the same. Yan did not think about it anymore. He was eager to improve his strength. Today, he encountered Galileo. That guy would definitely not give up. Without strength, he could not rely on Hermione to secretly protect Alexander every time in the future. There was also the coming-of-age ceremony in a year, which also required strong cultivation. In addition, there was also a 3-year agreement with Lin Qingyun. Yan returned to his residence and took out the medicinal materials he bought today and asked Yao Lao to refine them. At the same time, he checked the treasure he found today, the black iron sheet. After Yao Lao's guidance, Yan soon discovered the secret of sucking palm from the black iron sheet. It's a small technique, not very powerful, but it's more suitable for your current practice. After checking it out, Yao Lao felt that it was suitable for Yan's current practice. Yan was very happy. After Yao Lao finished what he had to do, He changed the subject and said, Diane, from now on you either get along well with that Hermione, or stay away from her. I feel more and more that that girl is very unusual. Yao Lao was always aware of Hermione, and the more he understood her, the more terrifying he felt that woman was. With his soul power, Yao Lao couldn't see through that woman at all. Chapter 507 Diane goes to Mitre auction house. Diane didn't expect that the boastful King Yao Lao would actually care so much about Hermione. Hermione is also a time traveler, and has many means, so it is normal for him to have some special features. Diane did not mention Hermione in front of Yao Lao. He put all his energy into practicing and improving his cultivation. As a man, it is too sad to have no strength in the Qi continent. Now that he has the opportunity, he must cherish it even more. Seeing Diane's hard work, Yao Lao naturally helped him. The next day, the Ji Hall was crowded with people. In the original play, Zhao Xuner and Zhao Ning were fighting, but Zhao Xuner here didn't seem to have such intentions. Zhao Xuner got Hermione's bad habits and liked to enjoy life when the sun was shining. The two sat together, eating delicious food and watching the competition in front of the Ji Hall. Those men who were sparring put in a lot of effort to show their strength and attract the attention of their loved ones. Although in Hermione's view, they were undoubtedly just at the level of cats and dogs, but as an entertainment program, it was still quite exciting. Mai arrived late, and saw two beautiful girls, Hermione and Zhao Xuner, chatting and laughing. She felt jealous, but she also plucked up the courage to join them. Zhao Xuner originally looked down on Mai, a woman who was too realistic, but because of Hermione's face, she did not reveal her thoughts. Mai gradually got used to this feeling. Hermione was generous and took out a lot of food for Zhao Xuner and Mai to eat. Zhao Xuner sighed. Hermione, you have so many snacks, aren't you afraid that we will eat them all? Hermione's answer was cool. It doesn't matter if I finish eating them. Do I have to wait for the food to expire? Mai looked at Hermione with admiration. Hermione's every move was quite charming in her eyes. The three girls were acting the drama. While they were talking and laughing, Diane and Zhao Ning in the distance had a conflict. These two people didn't get along with each other in the first place, and today because of a trivial matter, they actually proposed a duel. Diane was smart. He knew that his current cultivation was not good enough, so he postponed it to the day of his coming-of-age ceremony. Zhao Ning laughed and left. I used to think Zhao Ning was elegant, but now I think he is so annoying. Hermione pinched Zhao Xuner's little hand and said, just because he had a conflict with Diane, you think he is annoying? Zhao Xuner's little face turned red, but she did not deny it. Diane went to the Ji Hall to choose a technique. When he saw Hermione, Zhao Xuner, and Zhao Mai talking and laughing, he quickly avoided them. One beauty was enough to cause big trouble, let alone three. Diane was afraid that he could not handle it. Hermione saw that the system did not pop up a trigger task, which showed that Zhao Ning was not qualified, not even as good as Galileo. Seeing that Diane was also avoiding him, he did not force him. With Zhao Xuner and Zhao Mai by his side, life was also comfortable, and there was no need to call Diane over. Diane now has the help of Yao Lao, and he is determined to improve his strength, so don't delay his precious time and let him practice well. Zhao Mai's mind is now on Hermione, and she basically has no feelings for Diane. Zhao Xuner seemed to want to say a few words to Diane, but was stopped by Hermione. Diane deliberately avoided us. I'm afraid he doesn't want to waste time here. He wants to practice and become stronger. Give him time. Hermione's words undoubtedly attracted Zhao Xuner's attention. She was surprised. How could Hermione know everything? But it was true. Since Lin Yanran broke off the engagement, Diane has become a completely different person. When she went to the market yesterday, she could feel it. If it was still the way Diane before, Diane's time was not precious, because at that time, whether Diane practiced or not, it was actually the same, and the fighting power in his body would not increase at all. Now it is different. Diane, every minute and every second of practice, the strength that is improved will eventually gather in his body. The feeling of growing every day is enough to stimulate Diane's unlimited potential. Not disturbing Diane is actually for his own good. Fortunately, Zhao Xuner has Hermione to accompany her, so she doesn't feel lonely. In the afternoon, Hermione suggested going shopping in the market again. Mai didn't have the chance to accompany her yesterday, so they went together today. Mai was very excited, and she wanted to go home and put on makeup. Hermione teased, "No matter how you dress up, can you be as beautiful as Zhao and me? It's fine like this." Mai was embarrassed by Hermione's blunt words. Zhao on the side felt strange. Did Mai have a masochistic tendency? Hermione said this to her, but she didn't get angry and leave. Instead, she seemed to be more and more willing to be Hermione's little follower. Hermione casually took out a lollipop, which made Mai very happy. "This Mai is too easy to fool." No, it's not Mai who is easy to fool, but Hermione's charm is too great. The three beautiful girls of the Zhao family are undoubtedly the most beautiful scenery in the market, attracting the attention of many men. However, this time there was no Zhao, the scourge, and there were no playboys or dandies to harass them. Sure enough, the real troublemaker is not the beauty, but Zhao Yan. Zhao Yan is like the elementary school student in Detective Conan. Wherever he goes, there are murders. If he is not with Zhao Yan, the world will be peaceful. Mai had a lot of fun. For the first time, she realized that girls can live like this. In Mai's previous consciousness, girls, like boys, must practice and improve their strength from birth. Only strong strength is the basis of survival. Hermione did not oppose girls practicing, but she also understood life better in her spare time. With Hermione, not only can she eat a lot of food that she has never eaten before, but she can also feel the relaxation she has never had before. It seems that this is the real life. On this day, Mittel auction house. Zhao and Yao Lao came here stealthily, put on cloaks, and pretended to be alchemists to sell medicine, because Zhao needs a lot of medicinal materials for practice, and buying medicinal materials requires money. Zhao has not returned the gold bars he borrowed from Hermione last time. It was too embarrassing to borrow money again this time. So he thought of this idea. Let Yao Lao refine something and then auction it. In Zhao's eyes, Yao Lao was still a boaster, but when he took out the foundation building spirit liquid refined by Yao Lao, the pharmacist at the Mittel auction house was shocked after seeing it. At this time, Zhao realized that Yao Lao might really have some skills. After the negotiation, Zhao entered the Mittel auction house and waited for his foundation building spirit liquid to be auctioned. However, what surprised Zhao was that he and Yao Lao came here without communicating with anyone. However, he actually saw three familiar beautiful faces at the auction. They were Hermione, Zhao and Zhao Mai. Undoubtedly, Hermione was the center, and Zhao and Zhao Mai sat on both sides of her. Why are they here? Zhao was surprised. He was now in a hidden identity, so it was naturally difficult to go over and recognize them. Zhao and Zhao Mai did not notice Zhao, but the powerful Hermione had undoubtedly noticed it. Of course, it was Hermione who suggested coming to the Mittel auction house today. There are wonderful stories there, and Hermione's system option tasks will appear there, and it is not surprising that Hermione himself will appear there. Chapter 508, Yef appears. Today's Mittel auction is very lively. Zhao also quickly discovered the difference. She did not notice the Zhao, but she quickly noticed that the patriarchs of the three major families in Mutant City were all here. They are the Zhao family, the Jiali family and the Oba family. Zhao looked at the strange woman Hermione beside her and asked, "How did you know that there would be a lot of excitement at the Mittel auction today?" Hermione and Zhao are now very familiar with each other. Hermione directly pinched Zhao's little nose and smiled. "Of course, if it weren't for this charm, how could Mai always be by my side?" Mai was gnawing on the braised chicken wings on the side, looking at her with a puzzled look. "What's wrong?" Zhao was speechless as she watched Mai become more and more stupid. It is said that girls are very stupid when they are happy. Now look at Mai, what has she become? As she spoke, exclamations came from all around. "Miss Yafei is beautiful again. TSK, that figure. If we can spend a night together, it would be worth it even if she dies young." The surroundings were filled with the admiration of worthless men. It was obvious that this group of people came to the Mittel auction house not to bid for things, but to appreciate beauties. Hermione, Zhao, and Zhao Mai all looked up at the same time. She was indeed beautiful, with a tall figure that made people's blood boil, a charming and seductive temperament, a top-notch face, and even her voice, which could make a man's bones soften. She is worthy of being a beauty in the world of novels. Zhao Herman also sighed. The world of novels is completely different from the world of film and television. Film and television need actors to act. Even if some beautiful actresses are beautiful enough, they are still a long way from the beauties imagined out of thin air in novels. Zhao Xuner also followed suit and exclaimed, "I've heard that a young lady named Ye Fei has come to the Mitre auction house. Since she came to Yuten City, the auction house has always been packed with people." At this time, Zhao Xuner's watery eyes looked at the patriarchs of the three major families in Yuten City again, and she looked at them with a little contempt. "You are all old men, and you still come to see beautiful women." Zhao Hemin seemed to see Zhao Xuner's thoughts, pulled her little hand, and smiled. "Maybe there are valuable items in the auction today." Zhao Xuner's eyes stagnated, and she looked at Zhao Hemin and said, "How do you know?" Zhao Hemin continued to pull Zhao Xuner's little hand and said, "Why are you so surprised? If I didn't know, why did I suggest coming here to play today?" Zhao Xuner was speechless. She realized that since she was with Zhao Hemin, she had become lazy. Now she has begun to consider the mentality of going to play wherever is fun and lively. This was never the case before. Zhao Xuner was a goddess. She liked to stay in quiet and elegant places. As the saying goes, a red man is red, a black man is black. Zhao Hemin led her astray. However, Zhao Xuner did not reject this feeling in her heart. It seemed that as long as it was arranged by Zhao Hemin, she only needed to play boldly without any worries. Zhao Hemin, this amazing woman, was enough to settle everything. At this time, Yef on the stage began to introduce the first treasure to be auctioned today, the second great elixir, the foundation building spirit liquid. As expected, as Zhao Hemin expected, this Yef was very proud. The system immediately triggered a new option task. Option 1. Go up and hold Yef's hand, turn on the dynamic disco music, and dance with this charming and enchanting beauty on the spot. Completing the task will reward the exclusive attribute, Dance, +1. Option 2. Stand up and tell everyone that this foundation building spirit liquid that everyone is thinking about is actually related to the Wei Xian, the third young master of the Zhao family. Completing the task will reward you with the exclusive attribute, Detective, +1. Option 3. Keep silent and watch the show quietly. Completing the task will reward you with the basic attribute +1. It was the first time that Zhao Hemin was not so opposed to dancing. If she could dance with the enchanting beauty of, it would be a great thing in life. However, there were too many spectators here. If she danced with Yef in private, she could certainly give it a try. But if she had to let so many stinky men in the audience watch, then forget it. Option 2. Direct elimination. Zhao Hemin had absolutely no reason to expose Xian. Option 3 was simple, and the reward was what Zhao Hemin wanted, so it was naturally her favorite. What surprised Zhao Hemin was that when she was choosing the correct option, Zhao Mai beside her suddenly felt sour. That Miss Yuf is so beautiful and charming. Zhao Hemin, do you like her? In Zhao Mai's opinion, that Yuf was better than her in both figure and temperament. Zhao Hemin came here today, most likely not to join in the fun, but to see the beauty. Without waiting for Zhao Hemin to answer, Zhao Xuner on the side couldn't help laughing. Zhao Mai, what's wrong with you? Zhao Hemin is a girl. Why did she come all the way to see the beauty? Zhao Xuner was the heroine after all, and she had her own thoughts and will. She felt that Zhao Mai's words were the same as those said to boys. If it was that brother Xian who was here, Zhao Mai would be so jealous, and there would be no problem. Zhao Hemin also turned back and pinched Zhao Mai's cheeks, saying, "That's right, who do you think I am?" Zhao Mai was pinched on the cheeks by Zhao Hemin, and she didn't object. Instead, she liked Zhao Hemin doing these intimate actions to her. Xian also noticed that Yef on the stage was indeed a beauty in the world, and no man would dislike it. However, he was more concerned about how much the foundation building spirit liquid that he and Yao Lao brought could be auctioned for. At the same time, he also noticed the three fairies of the Zhao family. Seeing that the three of them were always talking and laughing, he also felt strange in his heart. When did the girls of the Zhao family become so united? It seemed that all this was because of Zhao Hemin. 8,000 gold coins, 9,000 gold coins, 13,000 gold coins. Xian's blood boiled when he heard the sound of the continuous increase in the price. He knew that the cost of this thing was only a few hundred gold coins. After being refined by Yao Lao into the foundation-building spirit liquid, it could be auctioned at such a high price. This money is too easy to make. No wonder the alchemist is the first profession in Qi continent. 25,000 gold coins, 40,000. A heavy middle-aged man's voice resounded throughout the auction. It was Zhao Zhan, the head of the Zhao family. In an instant, the whole venue was silent, and the other two family heads stopped bidding. Yan felt mixed emotions. This was made by Yao Lao casually. He wanted to take it to the auction to cheat the rich, but in the end, he cheated his old father. What a thing! Yan still didn't understand. In fact, this was bought by Zhao Zhan for his son Yan at a high price. The foundation-building spirit liquid can just be used by Yan. If Zhao Zhan knew that this was what Yan had left, I wonder how Zhan, the head of the family, would feel. His son is also going to rise now, but Zhao Zhan doesn't know yet. Now Hermione may be the only person who knows all this in advance, but she didn't stop it. Why should she stop the plot of the deep love between father and son? They are so rich. On my side, Zhao Xun'er didn't feel much. She was not simple, and even tens of thousands of gold coins were nothing in her eyes. Now Hermione smiled and said to Zhao Mai, "If you work hard, you will have so much money in the future." Zhao Mai was speechless about this comfort. In recent days, she has been traveling with Hermione and shopping. She can only practice overtime at night. How can she work hard in such a life? But on the other hand, if a person has no dreams, what is the difference between that and being carefree? Chapter 509 Zhao Hermione and Zhao Xun'er. There was no sucker bidding against the Zhao Zhan clan leader, and Zhao Zhan won the prize successfully. He was very moved. "Son, this is all I can do as a father." Yif on the stage was also very satisfied. Although she knew that many wretched men came for her, this was not what she cared about. She only thought about how to run the Mytil auction house better. Although she looked charming and seductive, she was actually a strong woman. When she took out the second treasure of the auction today, the Zhuan level advanced martial arts, Feng Wanju, there was a huge commotion in the audience. There were of course many martial arts fanatics in the Qi continent, and everyone was of course eager for this level of martial arts. And the reserve price of the auction was also exaggerated and terrifying. The bid started at 200,000. At this price, even Zhao Xun'er couldn't help but look sideways. Even the calm Hermione was thinking about whether to steal some martial arts from this world and then take it to the auction house for auction. But then he thought, he was not short of money. He was still the savior in Marvel, and it would be a bit embarrassing to do so. Just forget it. Now Maya was even more unbearable, and she forgot to eat. Now Hermione just gave her popcorn, which she could eat one by one for a long time. 200,000 gold coins, if given to her, she could spend her whole life. Too rich, this group of people, simply inhumane. However, even with such a terrifying price, there was still a constant sound of bidding, and soon it was raised to 400,000 gold coins. Mai felt that she really did not come in vain today, and she learned a lot. Even if she didn't have so much money to participate in the auction, it was still quite fun to join in the fun and watch. In the end, it was the chief of the Jiao family, Jiao Bai, who spent 550,000 gold coins and successfully won the auction. For a while, the whole audience gasped. Really rich. However, the chief of the Jiao Bai family was not too happy. He was just fooled. The other two family heads had bad intentions and maliciously raised the price, causing him to take over in the end. Become the legendary taker. Zhuan level advanced skills, wind scroll technique, is indeed a treasure, but the price of 550,000 gold coins is indeed too much. The wonderful auction ended quickly, and Yan also got his huge harvest. When it was time to pay the bill, Yif actually met the mysterious alchemist in person. Yan still did not reveal his true face. It was really exciting to communicate with Yif, a female fairy, at a close distance. However, Yan had also seen beautiful women, so he was able to calm down. Although Yif could not find out Yan's true identity, she also noticed from the back of Yan's hand that revealed the youth that the background of this mysterious alchemist was not simple, because in the Qi continent, alchemists generally have inheritance, and it is difficult to become a talent without a powerful teacher. Yan is so young, but he can produce such a high-quality foundation-building spirit liquid, which shows that the teacher behind him must be not simple. Night began to permeate the entire Yun city. It should have been a quiet night, but there were some unsatisfactory things. Yan had just laid down when his father came with the foundation-building spirit liquid that he had spent a huge amount of money on during the day. Yan looked at the foundation-building spirit liquid, feeling both amused and sad, but also warm. After the father and son said something, Zhao Zhan left. But Zhao Zhan's troubles had just begun. The money he spent was the Zhao family's money, and the Zhao family elders blamed him for spending so much money for his own son. It must be said that Zhao Zhan, as the head of the Zhao family, had ended up like this, which was quite sad. Now Hermione was watching this farce on the roof. She had just completed a small task and received a reward. When she was about to leave, Alexander actually strode over. Alexander was smart after all. During the day at the Mytil auction house, she guessed the intention of Zhao Zhan's clan leader to spend so much money to bid for the foundation-building spirit liquid. She also knew the status of Zhao Zhan's clan leader in the Zhao family, and those cannibalistic elders would certainly not give up tonight. Sure enough, Alexander was very domineering, and her delicate face was also very cold, without any of the cuteness she had when she was with Hermione during the day. There are 100,000 gold coins in this card. I'll pay for Brother Yan to buy the foundation-building spirit liquid. As soon as these words came out, all the old men in the room fell silent. Seeing that everyone was speechless, Alexander didn't say much and turned away. When she was a child, it was Brother Yan who took care of her. Now, it was Alexander's turn to help him behind the scenes. Now Hermione turned into a meteor and met Alexander at the corner of the road ahead. Alexander, you haven't slept yet so late. Now Hermione pretended not to know. Alexander's originally serious expression melted instantly, and she smiled and said, Now Hermione, you haven't slept either. Now Hermione took out a pot of fine wine, pulled Alexander and said, I see that the moonlight is beautiful tonight. How about we drink a glass together? Don't worry, this is filled with rice wine. You won't get drunk if you don't drink too much. Alexander blushed, but didn't refuse. In a pavilion of the Zhao family, the night view is good. The beautiful Alexander and the beautiful Hermione sat opposite each other. Hermione casually took out some snacks and poured out rice wine. The aroma of wine filled the air. Alexander felt a little embarrassed and said, I have been eating and drinking your food. How can I repay you? Hermione smiled and said, It's too polite to say repay. Hermione was rarely generous tonight. She raised her wine glass to the bright moon and said, Little do you know that I raise my glass to invite the bright moon and my shadow to become three people. Outsiders don't know my loneliness. It is also a great thing to be happy to have a beautiful woman accompany me to drink. Alexander seemed to understand Hermione's thoughts vaguely, so she raised her wine glass and drank with Hermione. I toast you. Alexander could feel that Hermione seemed different from ordinary people. She had something unknown in her heart. Under the moonlight, Hermione's eyes seemed empty like the universe. No one could really get close to her heart. She was mysterious, unrestrained, omniscient and omnipotent, extremely beautiful, but a little pitiful. Everyone has their own troubles. It is rare for Alexander to be Hermione's confidant tonight. People get drunk without wine. It was the first time that Alexander drank so much rice wine. She vaguely remembered that she was picked up by Hermione and sent back to her room. Lying in Hermione's arms, Alexander felt for the first time that a girl could make her feel safe and reliable. When Alexander fell asleep, Hermione left. Hermione didn't have to worry about bad people harming Alexander, because there was always a hidden master protecting her. The master thought Hermione didn't know, but Hermione knew it as soon as she crossed the Zhao family. The two had different goals, and Hermione pretended not to see the hidden master. Time passed quickly and it was the next day. Alexander woke up and didn't feel a headache. Although Hermione's rice wine last night was intoxicating, it didn't make people feel uncomfortable. It was also a rare wine. Thinking of being taken care of by Hermione last night, Alexander felt that she had to find her today to express her gratitude. Last night, Alexander might be the only person in the Zhao family who felt that Hermione was different. She herself has a big secret, but she knows that Hermione's secret may not be smaller than hers. The two of them have something in common in this regard. Last night, Hermione was just feeling emotional. In this alien world, she did a lot, but it seemed like she did nothing. Seeing Zhao Xun'er's dedication to Yan last night, Hermione was also moved, so she decided to take Zhao Xun'er to drink together. However, as soon as the sun rose today, the system reminded her to get up and work again. It's hard for workers. Chapter 510, Zhao Mai's Fighting Spirit Stage 9. Although Hermione is powerful and has traveled through many worlds, she often regards herself as a worker. Because the different options and tasks every day are very much like working, there are no holidays. If workers don't want to be workers anymore, they can resign, but Hermione can't. Even if completing tasks can get benefits, sometimes it's quite pitiful to think about it. However, this is just a negative emotion when you don't want to work. After thinking about it for a while, you still have to work. After all, Yan is also a traveler. He has no system tasks and now needs the help of the ring Yao Lao. He practices hard and improves slowly. In contrast, Hermione is busy every day, but it is worthwhile. If it weren't for working and improving all the time, Hermione might not be as good as Yan now. If work can make people progress and become stronger, you can still do it. Early this morning, Yan practiced the 8 extreme collapse taught by Yao Lao, a high-level Zhuan-level fighting skill. When it is refined to perfection, the attack contains 8 layers of energy, and the 8 layers are superimposed, and the power is comparable to the low-level fighting skills of the Earth rank. Hermione's 3 options today are related to this skill. Hermione chooses the tasks that she thinks are appropriate. She also has to practice 8 extreme collapse and practice more than twice as fast as Yan. This is not a difficult task for God. Hermione. Yan's practice is too painful, and he needs to be whipped by Yao Lao constantly and soaked in different medicinal soups to forcibly improve his strength. In comparison, Hermione's practice is much simpler. At her current level, she only needs to peek for a while and she will be able to do it directly. In the original play, Yan needs to practice for several months before he can make some progress. At this time, Hermione's strength is already unfathomable. On this day, Yan sat in the medicinal soup wooden basin, like a boiled tea egg. He wanted to break through the 7th stage of Qi, use various methods, play various tricks, and finally succeed. At this time, Hermione's cultivation has already broken through the level of Master, and her alchemist cultivation has reached the 3rd grade alchemist. This is the result of Hermione spending most of her time traveling with Zhao Xun'er and Zhao Mai. However, in front of outsiders, Hermione did not show her true strength, and outsiders thought she was just practicing Qi. It doesn't matter, anyway, she is not Yan. Most of the time she can just be stunningly beautiful, and there is no need to pretend to be too much. After Yan successfully broke through the 7th stage of Qi, he continued to strengthen his skill sucking palm. Seeing this, Yao Lao taught Yan another skill, the low-level Zhuan-level blowing fire palm. Yan didn't want to learn it because the level was too low, but later he understood the teacher's intention. Since Yan knew that Yao Lao was indeed a capable ghost, he kowtowed respectfully to become his disciple. After all, Yao Lao had all his skills, and he would not teach them for no reason, so it was impossible not to become his disciple. Of course, nothing is absolute. Hermione, this God, learned everything by stealing. She would not become his disciple. Yan used the sucking palm and blowing fire palm to counteract each other, and was able to achieve incredible power. There was still a month before the Zhao family's coming-of-age ceremony, and Yan was also very nervous. Recently, he has been practicing in seclusion, and even Zhao Xun'er is not with him. Fortunately, Zhao Xun'er has Hermione around, so she won't be too lonely. Brother Yan has been working too hard recently. I'm worried about his health. Zhao Xun'er looked in Yan's direction and showed concern. Hermione hugged Zhao Xun'er in her arms and comforted her. Don't worry, that guy is lucky and has a long life. After 3 years of decline, he will definitely rise again after hitting rock bottom. Zhao Xun'er believes in Hermione very much. In the past few months, Zhao Xun'er's feelings for Hermione have skyrocketed. If it weren't for Hermione being a girl, Zhao Xun'er would probably have fallen in love with someone else. In fact, Zhao Xuner herself didn't realize that although she said she cared about Yan, in fact, her heart had already been filled with Zhao Hemin's beautiful figure. Zhao Hemin herself didn't expect that she would live in the world of Po Kang Qian for so long. During the months that Yan was practicing, nothing major happened in Mutant City. He accompanied Zhao Xuner and Zhao Mai to travel and play during the day, and completed his work as a worker. He practiced before going to bed at night. Hogwarts and the Marvel world seemed to no longer exist. However, Zhao Herman did not take it lightly. She knew that there would definitely be a day when she could travel back, but the time had not yet come. However, Zhao Herman lived quite comfortably on the Qi continent. Zhao Mai, the little follower, could no longer do without Zhao Herman, and Zhao Xuner gradually obeyed her. Sometimes, Zhao Herman had a wild idea, thinking that she might as well become a man and live a happy life with Zhao Xuner. But after thinking about it, it was not possible. Time soon came to the day of the coming-of-age ceremony. In this year, the Zhao family finally had the same excitement as when Lin Yanran came. Almost everyone in the Zhao family came. Everyone was very curious about the strength of the Zhao family disciples who were about to receive the coming-of-age ceremony this year. Zhao Mai was very nervous. In the past year, she was almost a useless person who only ate and waited for death. Every day, she ate, drank and had fun with Zhao Herman. She was worried that she would gain weight. Fortunately, she gained weight in the right places. In fact, Zhao Herman helped her behind the scenes. Otherwise Zhao Mai would have been useless. Although Zhao Mai was not lovable in the original drama, Zhao Mai had been with Zhao Herman for nearly a year. Even if she had no merit, she had worked hard. Zhao Herman would naturally not let her grow out of shape because of eating, drinking and having fun. It just so happened that when she was practicing as an alchemist, she also gave some products to Zhao Mai through food. So, in fact, Zhao Mai was the guinea pig for Zhao Herman to make medicine, and Zhao Herman had strong magical abilities. But Zhao Mai didn't know, with Zhao Herman around, Zhao Mai would not be in danger. So, in this year, Zhao Mai not only did not lose her figure, but became more charming. She grew where she should grow and lost where she should lose. The reason why Zhao Mai was still not confident was that Zhao Herman and Zhao Xuner were better than her. Even though she has been getting better, it is still difficult not to feel inferior when she is with fairies like Zhao Herman and Zhao Xuner every day. The first step of the coming-of-age ceremony is to test her strength in front of the magic stone tablet. When Zhao Mai's name was called, Zhao Mai subconsciously looked at Zhao Herman behind her, and Zhao Herman nodded. Zhao Mai mustered up the courage to go on stage. For a while, cheers from the male animals came from all around. It's Zhao Mai. My God, I haven't seen her for almost a year, and she has become such a charming girl. What a figure. What does she eat every day? Not only the male animals drooled, but ordinary girls were also envious. Let's start. Zhao Mai was very nervous. Outsiders didn't know, but she knew that this year, apart from eating, drinking and having fun, it was still eating, drinking and having fun. She felt that she might be like Yan, a waste, and her cultivation would stagnate, or even regress. She trembled and placed her palm on the test magic stone tablet, and the fighting spirit in her body began to release. The next moment, the magic stone tablet lit up. The tester beside him also exclaimed, "9th stage of Qi, Zhao Mai, advanced level." There were sounds of gasps all around. Too amazing. I remember that Zhao Mai was still at the 7th stage of Qi last year. She improved her Qi by 2 stages in 1 year. She can be considered a little genius. Zhao Mai herself couldn't believe it. She turned around and looked at Hermione in surprise. She had been eating, drinking and having fun all year, so how could her cultivation level improve so quickly? Chapter 511. Zhao Xuner Fighter Stage 2. Zhao Xuner was also very surprised. In the past year, because of Zhao Herman, she had seen almost all of Zhao Mai's behavior. If Yan spent 24 hours a day, 20 of which were spent practicing hard, then Zhao Mai's practice time was estimated to be less than 2 hours a day. But even so, she was able to reach the 9th level of Qi, which was amazing. Could it be related to Zhao Herman? Zhao Mai's talent was definitely not that great. Even if she practiced every day, she could only improve her Qi by 1 level a year at most. And it was absolutely impossible for her to break through to the 9th level of Qi. Congratulations, Zhao Mai. Your strength is considered to be at the top level among the younger generation of the Zhao family. Zhao Mai was so moved that she cried with joy. In the original drama, she only broke through the 8th level of Qi, and was already like a proud little princess, surrounded and praised by countless beastly men. The 9th level of Qi here is even more exaggerated. However, Zhao Mai is no longer with those ordinary boys. She rushed down and hugged Zhao Hemin, saying with emotion, "I thought I was useless this year, but I didn't expect that I could improve so much." Okay, why are you crying? It's just 2 levels of fighting spirit. It's not worth being so happy, Zhao Hemin said exaggeratedly, but Zhao Mai was not angry. She started to ask for food as a reward. Zhao Hemin was not stingy and took out an ice cream for her. Zhao Mai ate happily. The Zhao family members around her all looked strange. Zhao Mai has reached adulthood and should have been in love. Why is she like a child now, following Zhao Hemin all day long like a tail bug? And, if I remember correctly, Zhao Hemin's cultivation last year seemed to be the same as Yan, the 3rd level of fighting spirit, which is low. However, it was all about girls, and a group of old men didn't delve too much into it. The commotion in the crowd gradually calmed down, and when the name of Zhao Xuner, the first person of the younger generation of the Zhao family, was called, everyone's hearts were agitated again. Zhao Xuner, my god, she is my goddess. I don't know how she has improved in the past year. I remember that she was already at the 9th level of fighting power last year. I am really looking forward to it. Zhao Xuner was not nervous. She smiled at Zhao Hemin and said, "I've made it." Zhao Hemin gave an encouraging look. Zhao Hemin secretly helped Zhao Mai, and naturally helped Zhao Xuner. The elixir she personally refined, mixed with the food, made it impossible for Zhao Xuner not to improve her cultivation. Although Zhao Mai was charming and attractive, when a top fairy like Zhao Xuner appeared, the whole audience was still amazed. Everyone held their breath. When Zhao Xuner's snow-white palm fell on the magic stone tablet, the magic stone tablet burst into a dazzling light, which was the most dazzling in today's test. Zhao Xuner, Fighter 2-star. When reaching Fighter, there is no longer a distinction between high and low levels, because this is already the level of the young generation of strong people. There were exclamations all around. Even Zhan, the head of the Zhao family, and the elders were shocked. I had guessed that Zhao Xuner had been able to break through to Fighter, but I didn't expect her to reach 2-star directly. At this time, Yan, who had arrived late, had just arrived. In the original drama, Yan came with Zhao Xuner, but here, Yan became a martial arts fanatic. Zhao Xuner spent most of her time with Hermione, and sometimes, the two of them slept together. Xuner actually reached Fighter 2-star. Yan's mood was mixed, with celebration and sighs. He had been practicing like a machine for a year, but he was far from reaching this level. But Yan was not discouraged. After all, this year, Zhao Xuner started to improve from the 9th stage of fighting Qi. Yan, on the other hand, practiced hard from the 3rd stage of fighting Qi. The two started from different starting points, so naturally the final results could not determine the winner. In fact, Yan's improvement was even more exaggerated. After all, he had paid so much. Zhao Xuner didn't see Yan, who had just arrived. There were so many people in the Zhao family who came to watch the excitement today, and there were heads everywhere. Zhao Xuner danced like a butterfly and came to Zhao Hemin. Zhao Xuner said happily, "My level is okay, right?" Zhao Hemin stretched out her hand to hold Zhao Xuner's face and praised, "It's really good." Zhao Hemin blushed slightly, but did not refuse Zhao Hemin's intimate behavior. The male animals around were excited. Zhao Xuner, such a beautiful woman, is already eye-catching. Now Xuner and Zhao Hemin, 2 fairies, are together, so intimate. It's really itchy to watch. The relationship between the 2 most beautiful girls in the Zhao family is so beautiful. Yan came in time, and after Zhao Xuner, he called his name. Next, Yan. Zhao Yan, isn't he here yet? Yan was at the back of the crowd and had to squeeze to the front to be seen. Cold words were heard from all around. Yan, that rubbish. He probably knew he didn't pass today, so he didn't dare to come. Indeed, the previous test was at most embarrassing. But today is the coming-of-age ceremony. If the test doesn't reach the 7th stage of fighting power, he can only face the fate of being exiled. He can hide from the monk, but not the temple. His cultivation is not enough, and it is impossible for him to continue to stay in the Zhao family. Ha ha ha. With the constant laughter, Jian finally squeezed to the front. I'm here. These few simple words proved Jian's courage. In just 1 year, regardless of Jian's strength, his temperament has completely changed. He is like a sharp knife that has been sharpened. Just his extremely determined eyes. No ordinary disciple dared to look at him. What's going on? That sharp look. Is this Jian? It's only been a year. How could he have changed so much? Could it be related to the fact that Yunlin Sak's young master Lin Yanren broke off the engagement that year? Can a person grow so quickly just by breaking off the engagement? Why not try it myself? Forget it. I don't have a fiancé. When everyone saw the Jian who had changed so much, they all felt mixed emotions. Zhao Xun'er was even more excited and grabbed Zhao Hemin's hand, as if only in this way could she have the courage to look at that Zhao Yan. Brother Jian has changed so much. Zhao Hemin used both hands to pinch Zhao Xun'er's little hand and comforted her. Indeed, Jian has suffered a lot this year, and it is normal for his cultivation to be greatly improved. Zhao Mai had already eaten the last bit of ice cream. Although she was also surprised by Jian's changes, she was not too concerned about Jian now. She felt that even if Jian improved greatly, it would not exceed her 9th level Qi cultivation. To be honest, even though she calmed down while eating the cold ice cream, she still found it incredible that she had reached the 9th level of Qi while accompanying Hermione to eat, drink and have fun every day. As Jian stretched out his palm and touched the magic stone tablet. The tester on the side also had some expectations for some reason. After all, this Jian is the 3rd son of the head of the Zhao family. Although he has been down and out for 3 years, his story is very famous. Everyone still hopes that they can continue to hear the legend about Jian in the Zhao family in the future. If his cultivation level does not reach the 7th level of Qi at his coming-of-age ceremony, then next year, Jian may not be seen in the Zhao family. In the future, there will be a lot of fun in the topic of conversation after dinner. Chapter 512 Jian's Fighting Spirit Level 8. Most people at the scene held their breath, waiting for the moment when Jian's fate would be judged. According to the promotion, Zhao Mai promoted 2 levels a year. Zhao Xun'er was equivalent to promoting 3 levels, although when it came to dues, it was divided into 1 star and 2 stars. And Zhao Yan. As the number of Qi 8 levels flashed on the magic stone tablet, everyone at the scene was stunned. Oh my god, I didn't see it wrong. Is that the cultivation level of the useless Jian? That's right, because Zhao Xun'er spent most of his time with Zhao Hemin in the past year. Jian basically didn't have to waste time with Zhao Xun'er. Therefore, even without Zhao Hemin's secret help, Jian here is more like a martial arts fanatic than Jian in the original drama, and he devotes himself to practicing and becoming stronger. Therefore, his promotion is even 1 level higher than the Qi 7 levels in the original drama. Jian, Qi 8 levels, advanced. As the tester announced this result with some surprise, the shock and exclamation of the whole audience became even stronger. Off the stage, Zhao Xun'er was so excited that she almost hugged Zhao Hemin. Brother Jian succeeded. That's great. He has reached the 8th stage of Qi, which is far beyond the requirements of the 7th stage of Qi for the coming-of-age ceremony. Zhao Mai's guess was indeed correct. Even though Jian's improvement speed was amazing, he still did not surpass her 9th stage of Qi. However, Zhao Mai was still shocked. He was able to improve from the 3rd stage of Qi last year to the 9th stage of Qi, a full 5 stages difference, improving 5 stages of Qi in 1 year. This is no longer a genius. It is simply a genius. How did he do it? If it was the old Zhao Mai, she might still feel bitter in her heart. After all, she was too realistic, and left and alienated Jian when he was down and out. Now that Jian has risen again, she is naturally not worthy of him. Fortunately, Zhao Mai has already settled in her heart with Hermione, and she no longer feels much about Zhao Yan. Even if Jian miraculously breaks through to Ds, she will not feel much. After all, it has nothing to do with her. Just like the world's richest man made 200 billion yuan last year, but even if he makes 1 trillion or 10 trillion, does it have anything to do with her? At most, She would sigh and say that she would live her life as she should. That's all. Zhao Mai's mentality is like this now. She has been completely changed by Zhao Hemin. She is no longer the girl who only cares about the level of cultivation. Since she met Zhao Hemin, she realized that girls can live like this. Cultivation is only a very important thing in life, but it is definitely not the whole of life. Food, play, enjoy life. Even if it is just to bask in the sun and chat happily with a person you like, it is a kind of happiness. The change in mentality made Zhao Mai's feelings towards Zhaoyan gradually decrease. Compared with Zhaoyan, Zhao Mai is more looking forward to how high Zhao Hemin's cultivation is. Although Zhao Mai has been traveling with Zhao Hemin for the past year, she has basically not encountered bad people to find trouble, and she has not been particularly depressed. However, if Zhao Hemin's cultivation is more powerful, then Zhao Mai's sense of security will naturally be higher. Zhao Mai has already put herself in the position of being Zhao Hemin's younger brother. Only if the boss is powerful, she will naturally enjoy the good life. Zhao Mai knew that she didn't have the ability to be on par with Zhao Hemin, but maybe Zhao Xuner could. But Zhao Mai also knew that when the three of them were together, Zhao Hemin was still the dominant one. Zhaoyan took a deep breath, and this year's efforts were finally not in vain. Great, thank you, teacher. Zhaoyan used his consciousness to communicate with Yao Lao in the ring. Yao Lao sighed. If I hadn't eaten away your cultivation for those 3 years, your cultivation would be higher now. After experiencing this year, Zhaoyan gradually became open-minded, a blessing in disguise. Those 3 years of desolation also made me see the ugliness of human nature. Moreover, if it weren't for Yao Lao, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to become a pharmacist. You kid, you have indeed grown a lot. Yao Lao was not praising Zhaoyan's cultivation. After all, for the legendary Yao Lao, the cultivation of the 8th stage of Ziqi was about the same as that of an ant. Yao Lao was talking about Zhaoyan's character. After all, character determines destiny. How much a person will achieve in the future depends on his character. Some geniuses, like fireworks, burst brilliantly and then go out. Some geniuses, like meteors, although they shine all the way, they still cannot avoid falling in the end. And the geniuses who can become permanent stars are the ones who can laugh at the end. Such people are rare even among the genius group. Yao Lao is a strong man who has experienced many storms and waves, so he naturally understands these things. Zhaoyan's character is very cool. After coming down, those who used to laugh at Zhaoyan now dare not look at him. It is really 30 years in the east and 10 years in the west. In just 1 year, not many people dared to look down on Zhaoyan. Although Zhaoyan's cultivation is not as good as Zhao Mai and Zhao Xuner, the 8th stage of fighting power is not the bottom among the younger generation. Moreover, Zhaoyan only took 1 year to improve the 5th stage of fighting spirit. It can be said that there is no one before and after in the entire Zhao family. Even, everyone doesn't know how Zhaoyan did it. Those villains who once laughed at Zhaoyan automatically made way for him at this moment. Just now, Zhaoyan squeezed up to take the test, but now everyone automatically made way. There was a sharp contrast between the two. In a place where strength is respected, those with strength are respected, and those without strength are no match for him. Zhaoyan went straight to Zhao Xuner and Zhao Hemin. These two beautiful women were very important to Zhaoyan. Zhao Xuner, needless to say, was a peerless beauty who would never leave her. Zhao Hemin was also a stunning beauty who helped Zhaoyan a lot. Congratulations, Zhaoyan. Zhao Hemin spoke first. Sincerely, she saw how hard Zhaoyan worked this year. Zhao Hemin was also a good girl who worked hard and studied hard, but she thought she could not compare with Zhaoyan's desperate efforts. Zhao Hemin was a sustainable, healthy and hard-working growth, while Zhaoyan was too hard-working. In his life, he practiced and practiced, and there was no fun in life. Zhao Hemin didn't want to live this kind of life. She liked to play happily when she wanted to play, and she was focused on studying without distractions. Thank you. Zhaoyan's eyes changed when he looked at Zhao Hemin. Last year, their cultivation levels were the same. He worked very hard to improve himself to the 8th level of Qi. How much will Zhao Hemin improve? Zhaoyan was the only person in Qi continent who knew that Zhao Hemin was a time traveler. He knew that this strange woman was not simple. Even though she seemed to be traveling around during the day, Zhaoyan was sure that Zhao Hemin's improvement this year must be extraordinary. Brother Zhaoyan, The genius you once were is finally back. Zhao Xun'er sighed in her heart, and at this moment Yan was more masculine, which was the result of hard practice. Yan nodded. Although I have tried very hard, I am still not as good as you, Xun'er. You are already a 2-star fighter, the best among the younger generation of the Zhao family. Zhao Xun'er blushed and said, Brother Yan, please stop making fun of me. With your current training speed, you will soon catch up. Zhao Xun'er was also very humble, because she knew that among the younger generation of the Zhao family, a 2-star fighter might be very powerful, but in the entire Qi continent, this level of cultivation is completely not enough. Zhao Mai did not say anything. The relationship between her and Yan was still very awkward, and not talking was the best attitude. At this time, the tester finally called Zhao Hemin's name. Yan said with some expectation, Zhao Hemin, it's your turn. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 513, The Two Great Prideful Ones. Zhao Herman Fighter 1 star. In fact, Zhao Herman was not ready for the test. After all, others only improved their chi by several stages in a year, while she only improved her own by several stages. Now her strength has been improved from Chi to Grand Master. As for the number of stars of Grand Master, she herself did not care. After all, she usually hides her strength. She improved too fast. Maybe she tested it secretly yesterday and improved another star today. There was no way. As an alchemist, she also had high attributes. Her other abilities could also help the cultivation of Qi. In summary, improving Qi strength was as easy as eating and drinking. The most important thing was that she rarely used Qi power. When she encountered trouble, she usually used magic to solve it. It was unnoticed and quite convenient. When Zhao Herman traveled to another world, her first identity was a witch. Naturally, she was very proficient in magic. She also studied hard for several years at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry to reach the current Mahayana realm. Yan looked at Zhao Herman with great anticipation. He knew that this strange woman was not simple. Last year, she was still at the 3rd stage of Qi. How much did she improve in a year? Zhao Xun'er said, Zhao Hemin, don't hide your strength after you go up. Although Zhao Xun'er couldn't know all of Zhao Hemin's secrets in the past year, she knew her character to some extent. As smart as she was, she seemed to have guessed Zhao Hemin's upcoming plan early on, and Zhao Hemin smiled like a beauty, and it was up to the system to decide what to do. Sure enough, at such a critical moment, the system option dialog box popped up. Option 1. Don't hide your strength. Let your great fighting master's strength surprise them and shock their hearts. Complete the task and reward the exclusive attribute, Pretentious, +1. Option 2. People should still be low-key. For example, Yan is no longer a useless young master, but the Zhao family still needs a useless person. Let your cultivation show the 3rd stage of fighting power on the magic stone tablet, and let yourself inherit the name of the Zhao family's useless person. Complete the task and reward the exclusive attribute, Waste, +1. Option 3. Be normal, not too high or too low. Highlight your talent, and don't let others be overly surprised. Complete the task and get a reward of +1 basic attribute. These 3 options were almost all within Zhao Hemin's expectations. After all, the tasks he had completed in the 3 other worlds combined could circle the Earth several times. He was experienced. Option 1 was the most exciting. Who doesn't like to show off? However, Zhao Hemin felt that it was unnecessary. Even among the younger generation of the Zhao family, it was unique to upgrade from Qi to the Great Master in 1 year. But in the entire Qi continent, the Great Master was nothing. In the Pokangqian world, the only thing Zhao Hemin cared about was the gorgeous and powerful strange fire. When the time came, it would be exciting to get some strange fire to play with. Option 2. Direct elimination. Zhao Hemin liked to keep a low profile, but keeping a low profile did not mean pretending to be a grandson. He also inherited Yan's reputation as a waste. What a joke. The answer was about to come out. Zhao Hemin strode onto the stage in the spotlight of everyone. That's Zhao Hemin, she's still as stunning as last year. Together with Zhao, they are the two most beautiful girls in our Zhao family. Zhao Hemin's looks and graceful figure are absolutely amazing, but her cultivation level, I remember that she seemed to be at the 3rd level of fighting power like Yan last year. This year, Yan, who has been a waste for 3 years, has risen. I wonder how Hemin is doing. Girls, especially those who are beautiful and who have good figures, are more likely to gain sympathy from everyone. Few boys ridicule Zhao Hemin. On the contrary, everyone is a little worried. Don't let Zhao Hemin's cultivation level be too low, otherwise she will be exiled to the frontier by the Zhao family. In the future, she will never be able to appreciate such an exotic beauty in the Zhao family. Life will also lose a lot of fun. Don't be nervous, play normally, I believe in you, Miss Zhao Hemin. The tester's attitude towards Zhao Hemin was not bad. Zhao Hemin nodded. She stretched out her snow-white and delicate palm, and gently placed it on the magic stone tablet. As the fighting spirit in her body surged out, the magic stone tablet suddenly burst into a dazzling light. Fighter Zhao Hemin, Fighter 1 star. Oh my god! The scene immediately erupted with continuous exclamations. Everyone was unbelievable. Last year, she was still at the 3rd stage of fighting power, and this year she broke through to the 1st star of fighter. What kind of improvement is this? My god, this improvement speed is even more exaggerated than Yan. Could it be that Zhao Hemin is also a hidden genius? The overall strength of the younger generation of the Zhao family is so high this year. I declare that from today on, Zhao Hemin is my goddess. Her cultivation, appearance, figure and temperament are all first class and peerless beauties. Clan leader Zhao Zhan was also surprised, but he soon suspected that Zhao Hemin did not show her true strength last year. Otherwise, how could an ordinary person improve 8 stages of fighting chi in a year? This is absolutely impossible. Did she deliberately hide her strength last year and maintain it at the 3rd stage of fighting power, just to prevent her son Yan from being too useless and embarrassing? What kind of relationship does this Zhao Hemin have with my son Yan? Zhao Hemin just wanted to say, clan leader Zhao Zhan, you think too much. Last year, she had just crossed over and had not practiced at all. The 3-stage chi was just the minimum strength detected by the magic stone tablet. This year's 1-star strength was her hidden strength. She was afraid that if all the tests were revealed, it would scare everyone's jaws off. If I remember correctly, at this time, the strength of the Zhao Zhan clan leader was only at the level of a grade chi. In other words, after only 1 year of practice, Zhao Hemin's strength was already on par with the Zhao clan leader. Zhao Hemin walked off the stage amid applause and admiration. Yan was shocked. He thought that his life-threatening practice and improving 5 stages of chi in a year were already very scary. But in front of Zhao Hemin, it was not enough. This little girl is usually too low-key. I have hardly seen her practice, but her improvement speed is so fast. The old medicine in Yan's ring comforted him. I can't even see through Zhao Hemin. The strength of a 1-star is just not all she can do. Yan was shocked when he heard this. They were both crossovers, but the gap between them was simply too big. In short, don't be discouraged, persevere, and walk your own way. Don't care too much about others. Yao Lao comforted him. Your improvement speed is not slow. Zhao looked at the radiant Zhao Hemin, excitedly took Zhao Hemin's hand and said, you are really amazing. Zhao Hemin smiled back and said, compared to you, Zhao, a 2-star fighter, I am still a little short of 1 star. Zhao Mai, the follower, spoke for Zhao Hemin, but you are different. Last year, Zhao was already at the 9th stage of the fighting force, but this year she is only a 2-star fighter. And you, Zhao Hemin, were only at the 3rd stage of the fighting force last year, but this year you are already a 1-star fighter. This improvement speed can simply be described as exaggerated. Zhao is now familiar with Zhao Mai and understands the bad side of Zhao Mai's character. She was not angry about Zhao Mai's remarks, but explained, Zhao Mai, you silly girl, the 3 of us have been traveling most of the time in the past year, and Zhao Hemin has no time to practice as hard as brother Yan. How could she improve so fast? Could it be? Zhao Mai was thoughtful after hearing this. Zhao and clan leader Zhao Zhan had the same idea. In fact, I have long observed that Zhao Hemin has been hiding her strength. She may have already reached the 7th or 8th level of fighting power last year. Chapter 514. Zhao Xuner wants to challenge Hermione. Zhao Xuner's guess was unreasonable. If Hermione really improved his chi by 8 stages in a year, then the others would be too miserable. And it was hard to explain why Hermione's cultivation was so low last year, but it suddenly skyrocketed this year. Hermione smiled and didn't explain too much. Just take what Zhao Xuner said as true. Next, just like in the original drama, the children whose grades did not reach the 7th stage of Qi will be exiled in despair. What awaits them may be a lifetime of mediocrity. But everyone has their own destiny, and there is nothing we can do about it. Just like in the real world, if you don't study well, you can only drop out of school early and go to work in society. But in the real world, money is respected. Whoever has money is the boss, and whoever has no money is the grandson. But Qi continent is different. Strength is respected here, and human life is like grass. Without strength, it is generally difficult to have money, be surrounded by beautiful women, and have power and status. In the real world, there is also legal protection. The Qi continent doesn't have it. Without strength, it's just a piece of fat meat that anyone can snatch and eat away at, so strength must be the only thing. After a year of hard work, Yan finally got excellent grades and was recommended to go to university to continue his studies. However, before that, there is another round of cruel tests. It's not enough to have cultivation, but also to have corresponding combat power. Yan only has the 8th stage of Qi cultivation, which is 1 stage higher than the original drama, but his reputation as a waste for 3 years has been deeply rooted in people's hearts. Today, even if he pouts, it is still difficult to convince the public. Therefore, the martial arts competition is to give those unsuccessful children whose cultivation can't reach the 7th stage of Dli a chance to prove themselves. As long as the children who successfully challenged and advanced win the competition, they can replace them, get the promotion quota. Therefore, even if the children who have reached the 7th stage of Dli cultivation can't beat the next level, they will face the fate of being eliminated. Very cruel. Yan is undoubtedly the target that everyone wants to challenge. Some female disciples who failed to be selected also looked at Hermione. After all, Hermione was also at the 3rd stage of fighting power last year. But after thinking about it, forget it. Hermione is different from Yan. Even though she is at the 3rd stage of fighting power, almost no one has laughed at her in the past year. On the contrary, Zhao Xuner and Zhao Mai, the 2 most beautiful girls in the Zhao family, often play with her. It is enough to prove that this beautiful girl is not simple. Everyone still wants to challenge Yan. Yan is naturally not afraid. He has practiced hard for a year just for this day. The sucking palm, blowing fire palm and 8 extreme collapse he practiced hard. These martial arts cannot be tested by the magic stone tablet. Only fighting. I accept the challenge. Yan strode onto the duel stage, with a dignified look. The wind blew the corners of his clothes and the resolute expression on his face made people feel that he was not simple, not like a soft persimmon. But the challenger Zhao had no choice. He had no courage to challenge others. Splitting mountain palm. The yellow rank intermediate fighting skill was also very powerful and fierce when used. However, in Yan's eyes, it was not good enough. Yan couldn't help but complain in his heart. Too weak. Yan didn't even use the fighting skill. His figure quickly dodged, and mobilized the fighting power in his body, and casually slapped. Zhao screamed and was knocked out. He fell to the ground and couldn't get up. Everyone was shocked, especially those who wanted to challenge Yan, who felt their scalps tingling at this moment. Fuck, what the hell? Is it over? Even if we don't fight for 300 rounds, we have to fight back and forth for a few moves. A direct palm kill, without even using the fighting skill. The difference in strength between the two is too big. Those who wanted to challenge Yan immediately began to back off. This Yan is really rising. Don't underestimate him anymore. Everyone was in a very heavy mood. Clan leader Zhao Zhan was so happy that his mouth was crooked. My son Yan was so proud. For 3 years, Yan was ridiculed for being a waste. Even though Zhao Zhan was the clan leader, he was not proud in this cruel world. But now, clan leader Zhao Zhan's face was so bright, it was almost shining, especially the Zhao family elders who wanted to seize power. At this moment, their expressions were as if they had eaten a fly, which really made people feel happy. Zhao Xuner was also very excited. In the past, her girlish heart was all on Brother Yan. She could no longer let go of other people in her little heart. But now it is different. In the past year, she has been with Hermione day and night. Whenever she thinks of the lonely and elegant posture of the three of them on the full moon night, Hermione raised her wand to invite the bright moon to face the shadow. Zhao Xuner is deeply touched. After Zhao Xuner congratulated Brother Yan on his victory, she immediately pulled Hermione and said, "Let's have a competition." Hermione was slightly stunned. "You are a 2-star fighter, so you don't need to challenge me to get a chance, right?" Zhao Xuner blinked her beautiful eyes and said, "I saw a group of people over there looking at you with ill intentions. I know you must be strong, but I don't want to see you, who is so arrogant, being challenged by such people." Zhao Xuner said happily, "I am the one who is suitable to be your opponent." In the original play, although Zhao Xuner is beautiful and noble, she is not beyond the reach of ordinary people. In the original play, Zhao Xuner often competes with Zhao Ning in martial arts. Here, since Zhao Hermione came, Zhao Xuner has also learned to be arrogant from her, and Zhao Ning and his ilk are no longer acceptable. Moreover, 3 women make a play. Usually, Zhao Xuner, Zhao Mai and Zhao Hermione are often together, and ordinary men are embarrassed to approach them. Zhao Hermione looked at Zhao Xuner's sincere and beautiful face, and knew in his heart that Zhao Xuner's desire to compete with him was definitely not a whim, and she was probably looking forward to it for a long time. It's not that Zhao Xuner has a competitive heart, it was a feeling of 2 peerless darlings. In the entire Zhao family, the only one who could compare to her was Zhao Hermione. The feeling that only you was qualified to be my opponent was a lofty ambition that would only arise when you met the right person. "Okay, I promise you." Now Hermione and Zhao Xuner's fight was a bit against the rules, but it was very interesting. All the male animals looked over almost at the same time. Wonderful. The 2 most beautiful girls in the Zhao family are actually going to duel. Now Hermione is a 1-star fighter, and Zhao Xuner is a 2-star fighter. The difference in their strength is not too big, but they are both the strongest of the younger generation of the Zhao family. I'm looking forward to it. Zhao Xuner's challenge also caused Zhao Hermione's system to trigger a pop-up window for options. Option 1. Don't show mercy, beat Zhao Xuner to the ground, so that she will remember this battle for the rest of her life. Complete the task to reward the exclusive attribute, Ruthless Destruction, +1. Option 2. You should still be gentle to girls, especially a peerless beauty like Zhao Xuner. Deliberately reveal flaws in the battle, and admit defeat. Completing the task will reward you with the exclusive attribute, Advancing the Beauty of Adults, +1. Option 3. It is a good story to meet a worthy opponent, and the game ends in a draw, with no winner or loser. Completing the task will reward you with the basic attribute +1. Zhao Xuner is indeed very proud, and her exclusive attributes are all 4 character rewards. But option 1 is too cruel, beating Zhao Xuner to the ground. The scene is too beautiful, I dare not imagine it. Option 2 is to lose on purpose, although it is in line with Hermione's always low-key personality, but it is a bit too low-key, and it feels a bit too much. Not beautiful enough. Chapter 515 Zhaoyan and Zhaomai. Option 3 is the most appropriate, and the correct answer is obvious. Zhaoyan was also full of interest. In his impression, Zhao Xuner was the most mysterious person in the Zhao family. Her identity was mysterious, and sometimes her words revealed that she knew a lot, which was unreasonable. However, since Zhao Hermione appeared, there is another Zhao Hermione among the mysterious people in the Zhao family. Zhaoyan used his mind to ask the old man of the ring, who do you think will win the competition between Zhao Hermione and Zhao Xuner? This was a very simple question, but the old man was silent for a long time. Although Zhao Xuner has a secret, it can still be explored. Only Zhao Hermione is unfathomable. The old man replied, Zhaoyan, don't underestimate Zhao Hermione. She is very extraordinary. It is really surprising that the old man can say that the beautiful girl is very extraordinary. Zhaoyan is the only one who knows that Zhao Hermione is a time traveler, because as long as Zhao Hermione takes out ice cream, spicy strips, milk tea, popcorn, etc., It is difficult for Yan not to know. It was just that Yan had not expected that Yao Lao would think so highly of Zhao Hemin. When the duel began, Zhao Xuner knew that Zhao Hemin was a remarkable woman, and she did not neglect him, but took the initiative to attack. Zhao Xuner's body movements were very flexible, like a dancing butterfly, and she was already extremely beautiful, and now she was even more heroic. Offstage, Zhao Mai puffed up her cheeks, waved her fists, and cheered Zhao Hemin like a little fangirl. Zhao Hemin, come on, I was about to say that I would defeat my opponent, but then I thought that I had been with Zhao Xuner a lot over the past year, and I shouldn't be too partial. I could only add awkwardly, come on, Zhao Xuner too. Zhao Mai was particularly annoying in the original drama, and was a very realistic woman, but here, after following Zhao Hemin for a year, she has now become a brainless female foodie, because following Zhao Hemin is worry-free, and can dub your cultivation, life without troubles, isn't it worry-free? Yan was not far from Zhao Mai. He suddenly found that the girl who used to be very realistic was now more lovely. So Yan smiled and said, you cheer for Zhao Hemin and Zhao Xuner, who do you hope will win? Zhao Mai ate a handful of popcorn in her arms and looked at Yan with a vigilant look, as if to say, I'm watching you. Don't eat my popcorn. Emotionally, of course I hope Zhao Hemin wins. But, rationally, I think Zhao Xuner should be more powerful. Yan was a little surprised. You actually think Zhao Xuner is more powerful? Perhaps influenced by Yao Lao, Yan subconsciously always felt that Zhao Hemin was unfathomable, but as to how deep, it was unknown. Zhao Mai answered straightforwardly, Zhao Xuner has been the first among the younger generation of the Zhao family since you became a waste. Now her cultivation is higher than Zhao Hemin. If she really takes it seriously, Zhao Hemin may not be her opponent. Yan laughed when he heard the analysis of Zhao Mai. The silly girl. It seems that Zhao Mai did not know Zhao Hemin's identity as a time traveler. Seeing Zhao Mai eating popcorn, Yan also grabbed one and threw it into his mouth. Such an action caused Zhao Mai's strong dissatisfaction. What are you doing? How can you steal my food? Yan was a little embarrassed. It's just a popcorn. Why are you so excited? Easy to say, then give it back to me. Zhao Mai stretched out her hand, looking like she was going to ask for it. Yan scratched his head. This Zhao Mai really changed, and was completely different from the Zhao Mai a year ago. It can be seen that Zhao Hemin is really terrifying. Not only is she mysterious, she can also subtly change the people around her. Okay, I'll ask Herman for a bucket next time and I'll return it to you. Zhao Mai was immediately satisfied when she heard that Yan wanted to return a bucket. However, she seemed to realize that she and Yan could now talk so easily, which was incredible. In the past year, Zhao Mai actually felt that she was ashamed of Yan and was usually embarrassed to talk to Zhao Yan, especially now that Yan has risen. It's even more embarrassing. But when she turned her head to look at Yan didn't seem to care too much about her leaving him. Zhao Mai felt much better. She handed over the popcorn she cherished, but didn't dare to look at Yan and said, it's agreed that you will return a bucket when the time comes. Yan laughed, but seemed to see her former shadow from Zhao Mai's arrogant profile. The reason why Zhao Mai pretended to be stupid was that she felt embarrassed in her heart. After all, Zhao Mai had ruthlessly left Yan when he was at his lowest point. I won't eat, you eat it. If you don't want to eat, forget it. Zhao Mai didn't spoil him. Although Zhao Mai used to like Yan very much, she has now moved on to someone else. Although Zhao Hemin is a girl, Zhao Mai likes Zhao Hemin more now. On the duel stage, even though Zhao Hemin has an exotic appearance and outstanding temperament, her moves and fighting skills are not as amazing as Zhao Xuner. Zhao Hemin's body movements and fighting skills are very ordinary, the kind that every disciple of the Zhao family can learn. However, in the duel, Zhao Hemin used the simplest moves to fight Zhao Xuner for dozens of rounds without losing. Zhao Hemin's acting skills have long been Oscar level, and Zhao Xuner did not realize that Zhao Hemin deliberately lowered his cultivation to accompany her to play house. That's right, this level of battle is really not much different from playing house for Zhao Hemin, the savior. However, Zhao Hemin's best acting skills are that she can get involved. She seems to be a real one-star fighter, fighting Zhao Xuner with all her strength. The fight was so close that the ordinary women who originally wanted to challenge Zhao Hemin were all terrified. So strong. Zhao Xuner didn't hold back in the fight, but she was able to fight the number one of the younger generation so closely. Too amazing. How could such a strong man be challenged? In the end, Alexander stopped and said with a smile, "It was so enjoyable to fight." "Thank you, Hermione, for letting me experience such a rare and enjoyable duel." Hermione wiped the sweat off her face and smiled. "Me too, we are worthy of being the best partners," and the fight ended in a tie. Alexander took the initiative to step forward and stretched out her snow-white sleeves to help Hermione wipe the sweat off her face. Alexander had never done such an intimate action even with her brother Jian. "Strictly speaking, I bullied you. After all, my cultivation is better than yours." Although Alexander still had a trump card that she hadn't used, the two were just sparring and hadn't reached the point of using trump cards to fight. Of course, Alexander also understood that Hermione was a strange woman and must have a backhand. The two of them had a tacit understanding, but in this battle, their feelings were further sublimated. Even when Alexander looked at Hermione's beautiful eyes that were like the deep night sky, she felt as if she was sinking deeper. Unconsciously, her pretty face turned slightly red. Hermione took Alexander's hand and smiled. "Let's go, we've sweated a lot. Let's take a shower together and then go eat something delicious." Mai, who was in the audience, heard this and immediately gave up again and ran over and shouted, I'm going to. Just now, the two of you fought back and forth, and the battle was so exciting. This is called a duel. It's exciting only when you are equally strong. Mai followed Alexander and Hermione. The three most beautiful girls in the Zhao family left with laughter and chatter. This made a group of crazy men behind them drool with envy. Diane also smiled helplessly. Mai was fine, but now Alexander had left him behind and was having a good time with Hermione, that woman. Chapter 516 Zhao Yu returns. Resting after a battle is naturally comfortable. Life is not only about hard work, but also about enjoying the comfort of life. Time flies and it is the day of the coming-of-age ceremony finals. The previous test was like the preliminaries of the Chunin exam in Naruto. The finals will be held in a month. This cumbersome ceremony has been like this for a long time in the Zhao family, and no one wants to change anything at present. The coming-of-age ceremony of the finals is very important, which represents the elite strength of the younger generation of the Zhao family. The head and elders of the Zhao family are naturally present, and a heavyweight guest is also invited, that is, Yif, the chief auctioneer of the Tamar auction house. I don't know whose idea this is. Hermione suspects that it must be a group of old men who simply want to take this opportunity to get close to the top beauty Yif. If Yif has no background, with the power of the Zhao family in Yuden City, she will indeed have a chance to get close to her. After all, beauties have been private property of the powerful since ancient times, just like gold, silver and jewelry. Not many beauties are blind to like poor boys. Only by following the powerful can you enjoy wealth and glory. Of course, someone with a background like Yuf doesn't need to cling to the rich and powerful, because she is rich and powerful herself. Today's excitement is not only due to the arrival of Yuf, the chief auctioneer of the Tamar auction house, but also to a beautiful woman from the Zhao family who is as beautiful as Zhao Mai, who came back from Canaan College. She is Zhao Ning's sister Xiu, whose beautiful legs are extremely eye-catching. Her style is heroic and she is also an extremely eye-catching beauty. However, she is holding a long sword in her hand. Even though she is very beautiful, few blind men dare to approach her. At this moment, Hermione, Alexander and Mai appeared. In the past year, the three of them have almost always traveled together. The children of the Zhao family were not very surprised, but just envious. Yu had just come back and was quite curious when she saw this strange scene. Why don't I have a deep impression of that Hermione? Is she from that branch of the Zhao family? She's so beautiful. When did Alexander and Mai become so united? The three women are actually together. Yif, the chief auctioneer of the Tamar auction house, who was in the VIP seat, was also amazed when she saw this scene. The Zhao family is full of beauties. Yu stood with a sword in her arms, looking heroic, making people want to see more. After a while, three more beauties arrived. Mai was pure and charming. Alexander was quiet and noble. Hermione was also full of exotic charm. Each style was different, enough to make people stare at it. Diane was the last one to arrive. In the past month, he was so busy practicing that he almost didn't touch the ground. However, hard work pays off, and Jian's improvement is also visible to the naked eye. When Jian arrived at the scene and saw Zhao standing gracefully with a sword under a tree in the distance, he was also stunned. There is still a past between Jian and Zhao. After all, he is the male protagonist in the original drama. In the world of novels, beautiful women usually have some stories with the male protagonist. This is the good fortune of the male protagonist in the novel. Jian. However, for Zhao, it was an extremely jealous encounter between enemies. If it weren't for the importance of today's program, Zhao would have drawn her sword and stabbed Jian. You, a waste. Haven't you been beaten to death yet? Zhao mocked. Jian was not to be outdone and said, "It's a miracle that you, a tigress, can survive to this day." Looking for death. Jian and Zhao were flirting, and Zhao Herman didn't want to intervene. At the very least, Jian would not have his arm cut off by the woman's sword. However, when Zhao appeared, the system still popped up a dialog box in time. Option 1. Accept Zhao as an apprentice, teach her the excellent swordsmanship sword drawing, and complete the task to reward the martial arts secret book Jugu 10 Swords. Option 2. Invite Zhao to dance, a heartbreaking song. Where can I find a soulmate in the world? Completing the task will reward you with the music score the complete works of Beethoven's Third Symphony. Option 3. Check in, chat with Zhao briefly, and get to know each other. Completing the task will reward you with the martial arts secret book Bagua Sword. Zhao is quite heroic with a sword, and he was able to trigger so many martial arts, which surprised Zhao Herman a little. Option 1. You need to teach your sword drawing technique to obtain Jugu 10 Swords. Zhao Herman has heard of Jugu 9 Swords, but does this Jugu 10 Swords have one more sword than the 9 swords? Zhao Herman was a little tempted and wanted to take a look after obtaining it. However, this task is a little difficult. It still needs more consideration. In addition, Zhao Herman's sword drawing technique is a sword technique for killing people, which is too bloody and sharp, and it is not easy to teach casually. Usually, Zhao Herman will not use it easily unless he kills someone. Option 2 is a very common funny option. Although the reward is Beethoven's Third Symphony, it cannot cover up this point. In this kind of occasion, a heartbreaking song, what will others think? Then the answer is only option 3. Although the rewarded 8 trigram sword simple score may not be as sharp as 10 swords of Jugu, if you get it, it is still worth watching in daily competitions. After all, Zhao Herman can't just learn the killing technique without practicing ordinary swordsmanship. She is not a killer. Like the last time she sparred with Zhao, if Zhao Herman already knows 8 trigram sword, she can also show it off. Of course, the most important thing is that the task of option 3 is relatively simple. It's nothing more than punching in, chatting, and getting to know each other. Zhao Herman has done many punch-in related option tasks, which are relatively simple and easy to score. When encountering such multiple choice questions, you don't need to think about it, just do it with your eyes closed. Let's go and take a look. In the original drama, Jian and Zhao flirted, and Zhao and Zhao Mai didn't go over to participate. The relationship between the beauties in the original drama is still very unfamiliar. Unlike here, Zhao Herman's aura is very strong, like a huge magnet, attracting all the beauties around, and it can also ensure a constant movement speed. Of course, it can also be likened to a big sun, with a few little planets, wandering at a constant speed in the Milky Way. Zhao teased, "Are you attracted to Zhao?" Zhao Herman replied, "What a joke, who do you think I am?" This time, Zhao Mai stood on Zhao side and laughed. Zhao and I have long suspected that Zhao Herman, you don't like men, you like beautiful women. Little girl, don't talk nonsense, otherwise today's snacks will be halved. Zhao Herman's mouth was to punish Zhao Mai's snacks. This is Zhao Mai's lifeline, and she looks forward to eating delicious snacks every day. No, I was wrong. I shouldn't help Zhao say that Zhao Herman here. Zhao said helplessly, "Zhao Mai, you really have no principles." While the three were talking, they came to Zhao. Zhao saw the 3 people coming, and her eyebrows frowned, worried that the other party was not friendly. After all, she has always been alone and is not used to forming cliques. Generally, in the real world, people who like to be alone and have a lonely personality are often excluded and bullied. However, this is the key continent, where martial arts are respected. If you have strength, Even if you are alone all year round, others dare not bully you at will. After all, in this continent, there is almost no upper limit to the value of martial arts. Unlike the real world, almost the Olympic Games are already the ceiling of human physical fitness. Chapter 517 If's interest. Hermione, Alexander, why are you here? Yan was a little curious when he saw these three beautiful beauties coming together. Hermione was the first to speak for the system option task. I haven't seen Miss Yu for more than a year. She is so handsome and graceful, so I came to say hello. Don't hit a smiling person. Hermione is so good at talking as soon as they meet. Girls, there is no girl who doesn't like others to praise her beauty. If a boy is praised for being handsome, he may even suspect that the other party is speaking in a sarcastic way and teasing him. But if a girl is praised for being beautiful, whether it is true or not, she will definitely be happy. Sister Hermione, you are joking. You and Alexander are the most beautiful women in the country. When you look back and smile, you will be charming. After Zhao Yu finished praising, she looked at Zhao Mai and said, of course, Zhao Mai is also charming. Zhao Mai was also very happy. As long as Hermione is there, it seems that the relationship between beauties can become very harmonious. It was originally a special show between Yan and Zhao Yu, but because Hermione and her friends broke in, the story began to shift. Yan was left out, and the four women were playing mahjong. Naturally, you said something, I said something, and it was very lively. Yan could only touch his nose awkwardly. He couldn't add a word. It was all about the girls. What could he say? He could only walk aside depressed. In fact, what outsiders saw was envy. Other boys, wanting to have a beautiful woman to chat and talk, is already beautiful. But this Yan is good. Four beauties with different styles, he doesn't know what's good for him. Yan here has become a martial arts fanatic. Although boys still like beautiful women instinctively, he is more concerned about improving his own strength. After all, he is not a playboy. And after 3 years of poverty, Yan knows better than anyone that a man must not be without strength. Only strong strength can give a man dignity. As for beautiful women, will there be a shortage of them when they become strong? Instead of being a bootlicker when you have no strength, it is better to wait until you become strong and get it easily. Yan has the heart of a strong man. Hermione completed the task and obtained the 8 trigram sword score rewarded by the system, so she did not stay for too long. Ning on the side was waiting anxiously. Ning is still a small villain at present. Seeing that his beautiful sister finally stopped chatting with the group of beauties in the Zhao family, Ning immediately came over and asked, Sister, why are you here? Zhao Yu saw that Zhao Ning's cultivation did not grow explosively, and said angrily, it's all for you. Zhao Ning was a little embarrassed. Sister, you look down on me too much. In the Zhao family, except for Alexander, I am the first person of the younger generation. Zhao Yu sneered, this is just your strength a year ago. Now, you still have the face to say that? While the siblings were talking, the magic stone tablet began to repeat the test. This coming-of-age ceremony was all disciples with a strength of more than the 7th stage of fighting spirit. Repeated testing is also to let everyone feel the strength of this group of elite disciples more intuitively. Alexander is still the first among the younger generation. Hermione, a 2-star fighter, ranks 2nd, Zhao Mai, a 1-star fighter, ranks 3rd, and Zhao Ning, a 9-stage fighter. All 3 members of the beauty group have higher cultivation than Zhao Ning. Zhao Ning is currently only at the 8th stage of fighting spirit. This result was still an elite among the younger generation a year ago, but now it is not good enough. Zhao Ning said a little embarrassedly, those 3 women, their cultivation is indeed higher than mine, but in a duel, it is not necessarily. Zhao Yu spoke mercilessly to his brother, not necessarily? Do you think that your 8th-stage fighting spirit cultivation can beat a 2-star fighter? Zhao Ning wanted to refute, but when the words came to his lips, he had nothing to say. In the VIP seats, Yif, the chief auctioneer of the Tamar auction house, was also extremely beautiful. It was a great honor for the Zhao family to invite such a charming beauty to the coming-of-age ceremony finals. Yif tasted the famous tea while chatting and laughing with the patriarch Zhan. When he saw the test results, he was quite surprised and said, The top 3 of the young generation of the Zhao family with the highest cultivation are all beautiful girls. If you hadn't mentioned it suddenly, the head of the Zhao family and the elders really hadn't noticed this kind of thing, and they were a little embarrassed for a while. Isn't this the case of the dominance of yin and the decline of yang? This. Yev smiled and said, "It doesn't matter. I am also a woman, and women are as good as men." This statement also slightly eased some of the embarrassment. Until the middle of the field, in front of the magic stone tablet, Yan appeared. Because this is the final of the coming-of-age ceremony, the disciples who go up to take the test are all qualified in the preliminaries, so naturally there are not too many people going up to take the test. When Yan placed his palm on the magic stone tablet, light shone. 9th stage of fighting spirit, advanced. Exaggerated. There was a commotion in the whole audience immediately. How could it be? A month ago, Yan was still at the 8th stage of Qi. In just 1 month, he actually broke through to the 9th stage of Qi. Did this guy rebound after 3 years of being useless? It's unbelievable. Yev saw that the Zhao family finally had a man with a decent cultivation. Her beautiful eyes moved and she asked the Zhaozan clan leader beside her, "Is that Yan?" Zhaozan clan leader proudly said, "That's my son." The third son had embarrassed him for 3 years, but now, he has regained all the face he had lost. I have been in Mutant City for some time, and I have heard about the story of young Master Yan. Yev did hear it, mainly because Mutant City has a good culture of spreading bad things far and wide. Things like being a waste for 3 years, and being broken off by his fiancée, etc., are all jokes that people talk about after dinner. However, when Yev saw it today, she was surprised. This legendary useless young master has actually risen. He has also reached the height of the first male cultivation among the younger generation of the Zhao family. The 9th stage of fighting spirit may be the bottom among the top 3 girls. But in the Zhao family, where yin is more important than yang, Yan's achievement is indeed the first among the younger generation of boys. It is hard not to be noticed. Brother Yan is really going to rise. Zhao Xun'er was very excited. Now when Zhao Xun'er was excited, she couldn't help but grab Zhao Hemin's hand. Zhao Mai also sighed while eating snacks. Yan's cultivation is already on par with mine. Zhao Mai knew that with Yan's genius speed, he would soon surpass her. It was impossible not to feel bad, but thinking that Yan didn't blame her, it didn't matter. Anyway, she is now Hemin's follower, not Yan's follower. The one with the most emotional fluctuations was the little villain of the Zhao family, Zhao Ning. Now you marveled at Yan's current cultivation level while scolding Zhao Ning. See, even Yan's cultivation level has surpassed yours. Zhao Ning clenched his fists and said, that Yan must have taken medicine to force his growth so fast. And I have been at the 8th level of Qi for more than a year. It doesn't mean that I am worse than him in a competition. Zhao Yu shook his head and sighed. Zhao Ning, you couldn't beat Yan before, and now Yan has risen again, you still can't beat him. Zhao Ning gritted his teeth. His sister said this to him, which made him feel very unhappy. Zhao Yu suddenly smiled and said, I knew it would be this result, so I rushed back from thousands of miles away. Oh? Zhao Ning looked at his sister in surprise. Chapter 518 Yan defeats Zhao Ning. Zhao Yu directly took out the good stuff she brought back this time, the second-grade pill Qi enhancement powder, which can make Zhao Ning break through to the level of a fighter in a very short time. Of course, the price is also very high. Zhao Ning showed a happy face. Sister, you are so kind. Zhao Yu said, let's talk about it after you successfully defeat Zhao Yan. Because Zhao Xun'er and Zhao Hemin have 2 high cultivation levels among the younger generation, Zhao Yu's mentality here is not as optimistic as in the original drama. Looking at the group of beautiful women over there, I hope Zhao Yu is overthinking. The next is the most interesting duel. Zhao Xun'er, Zhao Hemin and Zhao Mai, although their cultivation levels are not low, they have not gone on stage. As girls, the mentality of competing for strength is not as enthusiastic as that of men. Yan goes on stage, he wants to avenge his previous shame. 3 years. Do you know how he spent these 3 years as a waste? Now that he can finally rise, he must get back all the shame he once had. Yan is now at the 9th level of Qi, and ordinary children really don't dare to challenge him. I'll do it, a bunch of cowards. Zhao Ning jumped up, and his posture on the stage was quite cool. He shouted, Yan, I don't know what kind of magic medicine you took to improve so quickly in just over a year. But today I dare to come up, just to let you know what it means that there are people who are better than you and there are heavens beyond you. Yan's words were brief. Stop talking nonsense. Make your moves. Damn stinky boy. How dare you pretend to be cool. There are quite a lot of beauties watching the battle around today. In addition to Zhao Xuner, Zhao Herman and Zhao Mai, who are common in the Zhao family, there is also Yif, the chief auctioneer of the Temur auction house, and his sister Xiu. If Ning loses today, it will be a big shame. Iron Mountain Fist. Huang level high-level fighting skills. Zhao Ning has some strength among the younger generation, and this set of boxing is also very powerful, but his opponent is Yan. Yan does not care about reciprocity. The conflict between him and Zhao Ning has been accumulated for a long time, and one of them must fall today. Blowing fire palm. With just one palm, the 9th stage of Qi overwhelmed the 8th stage of Qi, Zhao Ning, causing the latter to spit blood and retreat. I can't beat him. It doesn't matter. Zhao Ning saw that there were surprises and ridicules all around him. He knew that if he lost today, the target of ridicule from those fence-sitters would shift from Yan's head to his head. Can't lose, and win beautifully. Isn't it just a competition of taking medicine? Zhao Ning swallowed the second-grade pill Qi-enhancing powder given by her good sister in one gulp. The next moment, the Qi in Zhao Ning's body surged, and a powerful force permeated his body. Zhao Ning felt his body, and he said excitedly, "So, this is the power of a fighter, too powerful." Yan, you die, the old man in Yan's ring reminded. Yan, the other party has taken a pill that enhances Qi, you have to be careful. Yan replied with his mind. Don't worry. Yan let go of all the bones in his body, and at that moment, his hard-trained body bones creaked. Suction palm. Yan's move slightly deflected Zhao Ning's attack, and then he gathered all his strength and shouted, 8 extreme collapse. Although Zhao Ning's cultivation level increased dramatically in a short period of time, his physical fitness was far inferior to Yan's. Moreover, Yan's fighting skills were not comparable to Zhao Ning's. The two collided with each other. With a bang, the ground of the duel stage was broken, and the people watching the battle around exclaimed, "Is this a battle in the realm of fighting spirit? Too fierce." Brother Yan. Zhao Xuner was a little worried. However, when the dust and smoke dissipated, only one person stood on the broken duel stage, that is Yan. His face was pale and he was spitting blood, but his eyes were firm, and he wiped the blood from the corners of his mouth calmly. On the opposite side, Zhao Ning fell in a pool of blood, and his life and death were unknown. Yan, you are looking for death. Seeing that his younger brother Zhao Ning actually lost, Zhao Yu was furious and picked up the sword to find trouble with Zhao Yan. Stop! It was Zhao Ning's grandfather, who was also the elder of the Zhao family, who came forward to stop Zhao Yu. Grandpa. Zhao Yu was puzzled as to why Grandpa wouldn't let him vent his anger. Isn't it embarrassing enough? The elder of the Zhao family scolded. You took secret medicine privately to improve your cultivation, but you still couldn't beat him. As a sister, you didn't teach your brother well, and you still made trouble here. Hurry up and take Zhao Ning down for treatment, Grandpa. Zhao Yu was very angry, and didn't understand why Grandpa didn't let him take action. The elder of the Zhao family understood that after today, Yan's status and position were no longer the useless young master he used to be. Now, he is the #1 man among the younger generation of the Zhao family, and he is the one who will be trained by the Zhao family. What qualifications does Zhao Ning, a loser, have to seek revenge on such a genius? This world is so realistic. If you lose like this, it will be embarrassing at most. But if you continue to entangle, you may lose your life. Clan leader Zhao Zhan watched calmly. Zhao Ning suddenly became stronger after taking medicine just now, which was not in line with the rules. If the elders hadn't stopped Zhao Yu, he would definitely take action to seek justice for his son Zhao Yan. I'm sorry to make Ye Fai laugh. The elder came back and spoke to Ye Fai first. The elder and the clan leader didn't get along, but Ye Fai was an outsider and the chief auctioneer of the Temur auction house, so he had to give her some face. There, young people are full of youth and energy, and it's inevitable that they will do some extraordinary things to get ahead. I can understand that. Ye Fai's answer was also flawless. However, even if he took medicine to reach the level of a fighter, he still couldn't beat Yan, who was at the 9th level of Qi. This Zhayan's strength is very strong. After Zhayan stepped down, Zhao Xuner immediately came to care and asked, "Brother Zhayan, are you okay?" Zhayan shook his head and smiled. "It's okay, a little injury is not a problem." Indeed, in order to train his muscles and bones, Yao Lao whipped him with a whip, and he was more seriously injured than now. If it weren't for Yao Lao's great medical skills, I'm afraid Zhayan would have been crippled by Yao Lao. Therefore, under such devilish training, Zhao Ning's physique is completely inferior to Zhayan. So it's not surprising that Zhao Ning can't beat Zhao Yan. Although Zhao Mai is no longer Zhayan's follower, she also spoke up for him, that Zhao Yu is so annoying. Zhao Ning has that kind of medicine to improve his cultivation. Most likely it was Zhao Yu who got it. Her brother lost the fight, and she jumped out without following the rules. Now Hermione didn't want the conflict to escalate, so she said, "Zhao Ning is Zhao Yu's biological brother, it's inevitable that he will get angry. Besides, this Zhao Yu also has a conflict with Zhayan, and Zhayan should be aware of this." Zhayan was a little embarrassed. "Okay, let's not talk about this." Zhayan changed the subject and said, "I know that you have been very knowledgeable about eating, drinking and having fun this year. It's rare that I have been practicing so hard for so long, and now it has come to an end. I want to have a good rest for a day, so you can take me out to have some fun." In the past, Zhayan might not have the confidence to be with the three beauties of the Zhao family, but after today, he certainly has the confidence. Zhao Xuner immediately said happily, "Of course, I have long wanted to take Brother Zhayan to eat delicious food. Brother Zhayan has been practicing hard this year, so we can't disturb him." Zhayan gave himself a day off. "Today is a good day, happy, going out to eat, drink and have fun with three beautiful girls." This made the other young men in the Zhao family so envious that their teeth were about to fall off. Zhao Ning, the loser, was so angry that he fainted. That night, the patriarch Zhan was happy and talked to Zhayan, his good son, for a long time. The father and son hadn't been so relaxed for a long time, and Zhao Hermione was not idle either. She took out the A-diagram sword she got during the day and started practicing. Even though she was already very strong, she was still willing to study hard when she encountered a martial art that interested her. Chapter 519, Zhao Hermione Swordsmanship. Learning the 8-diagram sword is too easy for Zhao Hermione, who is smart and has many cheats. This sword technique is to overcome hardness with softness, which is very suitable for a fairy like Zhao Hermione to practice. Time flies, and it is the next day. Zhao Hermione found that time passed quickly in the world of novels. Unconsciously, when she looked back, time was gone. However, Zhao Hermione has the art of immortality, so she doesn't have to worry too much about dying. Early in the morning, the system released new options and tasks. It's called an option, but in fact, no matter how you choose, you still have to act. Today's interesting plot is Zhao Yu's revenge on Zhayan. This beautiful woman with long legs doesn't seem to be very smart. Zhao Hermione faced several choices, one of which impressed her deeply, that is, to become Zhayan's appearance and interact with Zhao Yu. Actually, it's quite exciting to think about it. However, how to make up and explain afterwards becomes very troublesome. Although Zhayan already knew that Zhao Hermione was time traveler, Zhayan had not exaggerated enough to guess that Zhao Hermione could fly and hide, and could change infinitely. In this world where only fighting spirit is used, Zhao Hermione actually doesn't want others to know that she also has magical powers. Of course, if it is really exposed, there is nothing to say. Just like in the Marvel Universe, as a savior, you should always show some of your strength in front of superheroes, right? So the answer to the multiple choice question is only the one that suits you best. Zhao Yu did plan to attack Zhayan today. This annoying guy, new hatred plus old grudges, must be settled today. But what Zhao Yu didn't expect was that she came to block him, but didn't catch Zhayan, but was bumped into by Zhao Hermione by chance. "Miss Zhao Yu, you came to the back mountain to practice sword so early in the morning?" Zhao Yu was a little embarrassed. "Well, practicing sword in the early morning can best improve your strength." Zhao Hermione laughed in her heart. This Zhao Yu was clearly here to cause trouble for Zhao Yan. Unfortunately, on the way here, Zhao Hermione told Zhao Yan not to come to the back mountain today. Zhao Yan asked curiously why, and Zhao Hermione replied, You don't need to worry about it. Yan knew the peculiarity of Zhao Hemin, so he didn't ask more. Yan went to practice elsewhere and would not come here today. In that case, Miss Yu, I have just learned a set of sword techniques recently. How about we spar with each other? Yu was a little impatient. She came to trouble Yan. This Zhao Hemin had been pestering her and making her upset. Okay. Yu decided to be ruthless and beat this exotic Zhao Hemin until she cried, so that she would not dare to pester her again in the future. Yu drew out the long sword in her hand and said proudly, Zhao Hemin, I am a few years older than you. Swords have no eyes. Even if we are sparring, you have to be careful. Zhao Hemin smiled, and she did not put on airs. She took out an ordinary long sword and stabbed Yu. Yu saw that Zhao Hemin was coming fiercely and did not look like a show-off, so she did not dare to neglect it. Yu's swordsmanship was not the strongest in Yun City, but it was also ranked among the best in the Zhao family. She fought with the sword, but in the next move, she felt the changes of Zhao Hemin's long sword. Yu still didn't believe that her swordsmanship and strength could not defeat Zhao Hemin in front of her. However, as the number of moves increased, Yu became more and more frightened. What happened? Her swordsmanship was completely broken. Every time she swung her sword, it was like hitting cotton, making it impossible for her to use any strength. Sister Yu's swordsmanship is so powerful. Zhao Hemin still had time to tease her, which made Yu so angry that she vomited blood. She no longer held back and used her strongest swordsmanship. Zhao Hemin on the opposite side also became serious. The sword in her hand became faster and faster, like an airtight sword wall. However, Yu took a step back and was stunned. In front of her, the afterimages left by Zhao Hemin's sword stabbing actually formed a Bagua diagram. If Yu knew that Zhao Hemin had only practiced a set of Bagua sword for one night, I don't know how she would feel. Yu immediately put away her sword. She didn't want to fight anymore. She asked in surprise, what kind of swordsmanship is this? Hermione didn't lie. She also put away her sword and said with a smile, Bagua sword? Why haven't I seen it in the key pavilion of the Zhao family? Yu felt that this swordsmanship was exquisite and strong. It was soft and hard, and it was watertight. It was very strong. Hermione began to talk nonsense. One year, I went out to collect herbs and fell off a cliff. I came across a cave and found this secret book in a cave. Yu, who was not very smart, actually believed it and said, so that's it. Sister Hermione is really lucky. This swordsmanship is extremely exquisite. If you practice well, Hermione, you will become a first-class swordsman in time. Hermione replied, I will. Well, I have something urgent to do, so I won't continue to discuss martial arts with my sister. Yu was in a hurry to leave. She had to find trouble with Yan today, so she couldn't waste all her time on this girl. Seeing that the other party was about to leave, Hemin stopped pretending to be ignorant and said bluntly, Sister Yu, do you want to cause trouble for Yan? Yu was shocked. She did not expect that the exotic and beautiful girl Hemin in front of her would actually say what she was thinking. Thinking more, Yu was even more surprised. Could it be that this Zhao Hemin knew from the beginning? That's why she deliberately entangled me and wanted to compete in swordsmanship. How did you know? Yu frowned and began to have a lower impression of Zhao Hemin. Zhao Hemin said, yesterday in the finals of the adult ceremony, Yan defeated your brother Zhao Ning, and you were furious and wanted to seek revenge on Yan, but you were stopped by the elders and failed. Revenge is not delayed overnight. So I guessed that you must want to cause trouble for Yan in private today. What a smart girl. Yu did not deny it. She held her sword and said, this is the grudge between Yan and me. Don't interfere. Hemin smiled and said, it is better to resolve a feud than to create one. I am here to be a peacemaker. Yu sneered and said, Hemin, when I am in a good mood, I will call you sister, but if I am in a bad mood, I will deal with you and Yan together. I advise you not to meddle in other people's business. Hearing that Hemin dared to interfere, Yu did not intend to give her a good face. Hemin also said, don't let me interfere, unless you can break my sword technique. If you can break it, I will turn around and leave. Although Yu is not very smart, she is not stupid. Why should I listen to you? However, as soon as she finished speaking, Hemin suddenly rushed over quickly. Sword drawing technique so fast. Yu did not even have time to react. If the 8 trigram sword just now was a martial arts exchange, then this move was terrifying. One is a gentleman's sword technique, the other is a murderous sword technique. A strong murderous aura came over her in an instant, and Xiao even felt a chill on her neck, as if she had been beheaded just now. Swish! The sound of a long sword being sheathed. The long sword in Xiao's hand had not been completely pulled out, but a strand of her long hair beside her ear was broken, and this was not the most terrifying thing. The most terrifying thing was that a tree half the thickness of a person beside Xiao was directly cut in half, and the broken end was as smooth as a mirror. What a terrifying swordsmanship! If this sword had been cut on Xiao just now, perhaps she would have died now. Sister Xiao, I'm not targeting you. Now Hermione continued to smile playfully, as if the person who had just performed the murderous swordsmanship was not her at all. I don't want to protect Xian. I'm a peacemaker. I just don't want the conflict between you and Xian to get deeper and deeper. So, Sister Xiao, if you can crack my swordsmanship that day, then I won't care about the shit between you and Xian anymore. In fact, if it weren't for choosing the system task, now Hermione didn't want to care now. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 520 Xiao Herman's Attributes. Even though Xiao Herman had left, Xiao was still shocked. For a long time, she looked at the giant tree beside her that had been cut down in disbelief. That Xiao Herman, what is her strength? Xiao was originally a fierce girl, and it was definitely useless to persuade her with kind words. Only by completely conquering her would it have some effect. With one sword, Xiao was completely convinced. This Xiao Herman had a wonderful grasp of her character, which was simply amazing. Originally, she wanted to continue to make trouble for Xian, but at this moment, she had completely lost the idea. My strength is not even enough to beat Xiao Herman, a one-star fighter, so is it necessary to go find that hateful Xian? This Xiao Herman said that she was not targeting me, but why did she come to be the peacemaker? Xiao couldn't figure it out, but she was already in a depressed mood. The thought of seeking revenge on Xian in her heart gradually dissipated. As soon as she closed her eyes, she saw the sword that Xiao Herman drew. Her sword. How should she block it? What should she do to break this sword? Xiao is not a martial arts fanatic, but the stimulation just now was too great, causing her to start thinking about how to crack it. Otherwise, relying on this sword alone, it would be too easy for Xiao Herman to kill her. But if Xiao thought that Xiao Herman wanted to kill her and could only rely on this sword, then Xiao was very wrong. Xiao Herman also has Tathagata Palm, a high imitation version of Thor's hammer, advanced magic, Magneto bracelet, Mangekyo Sharingan, etc. After years of traveling through time and doing tasks, Xiao Herman has accumulated a lot now. Xian is not stupid either. Xiao has new and old grudges with him, so it stands to reason that he will not give up. But the fact is that until this day when the young disciples were going to enter the Chi Pavilion to choose fighting skills and exercises, Xiao did not come to trouble Xian. Even the entire family rarely saw Xiao. It was as if it was not Xiaoning who was injured and recuperating in the finals of the coming-of-age ceremony, but Xiao. Xian didn't know what was going on, but since the other party didn't come to trouble him, he naturally had nothing to do. Chi Pavilion is the important place of Xiao family. It preserves the accumulation of Xiao family for many years. Even Zan, the head of Xiao family, cannot take it away casually. Only today, when it is special, he reminds his son Xian. Room 43, the third road of Fire Road. Zan, the head of the family, is trying to benefit his son. Xian himself is a little embarrassed. In fact, he has the guidance of the master Yao Lao in his ring. Even if he can't find the right skills and fighting skills in the Chi Pavilion of Xiao family, with Yao Lao, Xian doesn't have to worry too much. But Zan, the head of the family, obviously doesn't know this. If it is still the waste of Chi 3 stage Xian, even if Zan, the head of the family, prepares a special meal, Xian can't eat it. It's different now. Xian is the first male in the younger generation of Xiao family, and he is the hope of Xiao family. As for Xuner, she has a different identity and background, so it is naturally impossible to train her as the future of Zhao family. Although Zhao Hemin is powerful, she is too mysterious, low-key, and a woman, so it is still difficult to focus on training. Of course, Zhao Hemin is not rare. There is a crystal ball in front of the key pavilion. Like the magic stone tablet, it is used to test physical attributes. Every disciple who enters must be tested. Only after understanding their physical attributes can they choose the most suitable skills and fighting skills. When Yan placed his palm on the crystal ball, blazing fire energy burst out. Yan's attribute is obviously fire attribute. Zhao Xuner, Zhao Hemin, and the follower Zhao Mai were behind. Brother Yan has the fire attribute. Zhao Hemin, go and test it. Although Zhao Xuner and Zhao Hemin have been together for more than a year, she doesn't know much about Zhao Hemin's details. Even yesterday in the back mountain, Zhao Hemin used the earth-shattering swordsmanship on Zhao. Zhao Xuner didn't know it. Zhao Hemin's weapons are all in the space ring. Zhao Xuner doesn't even know what Zhao Hemin's best weapon is. In fact, Zhao Hemin's strongest melee weapon is the high-frequency arc-upgraded version of the tiger-eating fish knife. The tiger fish knife comes from the game world of Genshin Impact, and the high-frequency arc technology comes from the villain in Iron Man 2 inches. Zhao Hemin stole this technology. The villain in Iron Man 2 used this technology on a whip, and one whip could cut a car. Very powerful. After Zhao Hemin learned this technology, she used it on her tiger fish knife. She rarely used this knife, but if she did, it would be as easy to cut tanks and planes as tofu. Of course, using a submachine gun or AK-47 to fight is also very good. Zhao Hemin's munitions reserve is equivalent to that of a division. The nuclear warhead has not been used yet, but there is no chance. Zhao Hemin was not polite. She walked to the crystal ball and stretched out her delicate jade hand, but the crystal ball did not move at all. No attributes? It shouldn't be. Zhao Xuner and Zhao Mai were a little confused, and Zhao Yan, who had just entered, turned around in surprise. Zhao Hemin suspected that it was not that she had no attributes, but that the attributes in her body were too mixed and chaotic, and the crystal ball could not detect them at all. As Hermione continued to accumulate, her total physical attribute value was now magic plus 101, health plus 90, low-key plus 75, agility plus 90, defense plus 91, strength plus 85, stealth plus 80, pretty plus 9, charm plus 9, figure plus 10, skin plus 9, wisdom plus 9, gentleness plus 1, soul plus 1, optimism plus 1, teasing plus 2, good guy plus 2, painter plus 1, performance plus 1, decisiveness plus 1, silence plus 1, quietness plus 1, professional plus 1, courage plus 1, luck plus 1, casualness plus 1, beauty plus 1, leisure plus 2, justice plus 1, except for the several major categories that Zhao Hemin cared about. The rest of the plus 1 were all rewards from the exclusive attribute option tasks. Sometimes they were not what Zhao Hemin wanted, but the system tasks were only this simple, and there was no other way to get them. After getting them, there was no way to reset them, so it seemed that there were a lot of attribute points and it was very messy. The most critical attribute, low profile, is now the lowest value among hide, strength, defense, agility, health, and magic. This is due to the continuous improvement of strength, and Zhao Hemin is more and more confident in her survival skills. Now low profile is no longer a way of survival, but a cautious character in Zhao Hemin's bones. The first bird to stick out gets shot is an unchanging rule since ancient times. Only low-key and wretched development is the best survival rule. However, after growing strong, you still have to show off. You still have to be wild. Zhao Hemin immediately mobilized her body attributes, which are still very common in the key continent, because the basic attribute points are precious. Zhao Hemin added them to the big categories. Small details, such as gold, wood, water, fire, earth, thunder and lightning, etc., she has not added them. Not adding points does not mean that Zhao Hemin does not have them in her body. She deliberately showed the wind energy attribute in her body. As a result, the crystal ball that was originally tested as if it had no attributes suddenly produced a gust of wind. So, Zhao Hemin, You have the wind attribute. I thought you had no attribute, which made me worried. Zhao comforted her, although Zhao didn't say anything. She was a little nervous just now. Hermione smiled calmly. Even if you have no attribute, it doesn't matter. It's your turn. Zhao went up to test Li Yan. She also has the fire attribute, and her fire energy seems to be even hotter than Yan's. Chapter 521, Medicine Master's thoughts are terrifying. Basic attribute points are too precious, and the +1/+1 improvement is not particularly obvious. So Hermione has never added the common gold, wood, water, fire, earth, thunder, ice, etc. Because as long as the magic attribute is improved, or advanced magic is learned, magic with branch attributes such as gold, wood, water, fire, earth, thunder, ice, etc. can be realized through spells. If the basic attribute points are very sufficient in the future, Hermione will not give priority to common attributes such as gold, wood, water, fire, earth, thunder, ice, etc. because she has the ice crystals of the icebox, which can make up for the ice energy. As for fire energy, Hermione can also obtain the strange fire in the Qi continent. If there are extra attribute points, Hermione cares more about space and time attributes than gold, wood, water, fire, and earth, because these are the only two things that she, as a traverser, often uses. Hermione's ideas may be different from those of ordinary people, but they are also formed by her personality factors. A set of traceable rules. Yan was not surprised that Hermione's crystal ball test showed wind attribute, but Yao Lao and Yan's ring was very surprised. No, that Hermione clearly has the aura of an alchemist. She should have fire and wood attributes. Yan was surprised. He didn't know that Hermione was also an alchemist. Yao Lao felt it, but he couldn't be 100% sure, so Yao Lao didn't tell Yan about this. Yao Lao, what are you talking about? Yan was very puzzled. Alchemist? Hermione? Is Hermione also an alchemist? But who did she learn from? Is there also an old monster living in her ring? Yan was a little confused. Now that there is an old monster living in the ring, can it be mass-produced? Yao Lao sighed and said, that little girl can even control her own physical attributes at will. Yao Lao has been wandering in the Qi continent for many years, and this kind of thing is still unheard of. Yao Lao even guessed that Hermione not only has fire, wood and wind attributes, she is very likely to have all attributes, the kind of super powerful person that only exists in legends. Of course, the above are just Yao Lao's guesses, and he couldn't tell Yan about his shocking guesses casually. It's just that Yao Lao is more and more surprised about Hermione. Sometimes he even feels a little scared when he thinks about it carefully. In fact, Yao Lao feels that Hermione is beyond the 3 realms and is not in the 5 elements. It's not that Yao Lao is fanciful, but Yao Lao has been observing Hermione for more than a year. He is a master. Maybe he can't see the essence of things like the level of Patriarch Zan, but Yao Lao, as a soul, can see things that scare him. Even Yao Lao instinctively doesn't dare to delve too much. Hermione doesn't care about Yao Lao's surprise. She is indeed mysterious and powerful, but so what? In the Qi continent, as long as there is something she doesn't know, she is willing to learn. By the way, she is just a time travel worker. There is nothing to be proud of. In essence, she is a beautiful lady who doesn't like to cause trouble. It's Hermione's turn to test, and her attribute is also wind energy. Knowing that she and Hermione both have the same wind attribute, Hermione, who is about to become a crazy fan, is even happier. I am the same as Hermione. Okay, let's go and quickly, otherwise the good things will be snatched away by the people in front. Of course, this is a joke. There are still many collections in the Qi Pavilion. For other disciples, being able to enter the Qi Pavilion to choose exercises and fighting skills is a very happy thing. Even the Patriarch Zan has to privately tell Yan that there are good things there, and Hermione's father has also told her. But in fact, for the omnipotent Hermione, the Qi Pavilion has been like Hermione's private library for the past year. With her ability, she can look at the exercises and fighting skills here casually. Come when you want. leave when you want. So she didn't feel excited at all when she came here today, just to complete the system option tasks. Because there is no big plot fluctuation, the system also issues some small tasks. However, the rewards have not shrunk too much. Hermione still gets a lot of rewards for completing some tasks casually. Huang level advanced skills, fire refining, Zhuan level advanced skills, flame manipulation. These are the skills that Patriarch Zod secretly prepared for Hao Yan. They look pretty good. However, Yan still cares more about the skills and fighting skills that Yao Lao provided for him. Zhao Xuner is of noble status, and the skills in the Zhao family's Tea Pavilion are not up to standard, but she simply picked them. Zhao Mai encountered some troubles here. Her father is unreliable, although he secretly told her the location like Patriarch Zon. She couldn't open the defense shield here. In the original drama, Yan came to help. Hermione looked at the options in front of her and smiled directly. Zhao Mai, I will teach you a move, and you use this move to break the defense shield. Among the three options, there is one that invites Yan and one that Hermione takes action, but Hermione doesn't want the exclusive attributes of the reward. She still chooses to teach Zhao Mai a move. What Hermione taught her was what she learned in the Tea Pavilion. Zhao Mai frowned and said, but is it too late for me to learn now? Although Zhao Mai followed Hermione to eat and drink delicious food, and became a guinea pig for Hermione to make medicine, her cultivation level increased rapidly. But because of neglecting practice, Zhao Mai's fighting skills level was not high. At this moment, the time to enter the Tea Pavilion was limited, and Zhao Mai still hoped that Zhao Xuner and Zhao Hermione could make a move. With their strength, any move could break the protective shield of the fighting skills. Zhao Xuner didn't know why Zhao Hermione did this, but she didn't stop her. Zhao Hermione was a strange woman, and she must have her intention when she said this. Zhao Hermione smiled and said, the move I teach you is very simple, you can learn it after watching it once. As she said that, Zhao Hermione taught Zhao Mai hand in hand. Zhao Mai was a little nervous. She was afraid that she was too stupid and couldn't learn it. However, when Zhao Hermione placed her palm on the back of Zhao Mai's head, the power of advanced magic entered Zhao Mai's body, as if Zhao Mai's Ren and Du meridians were broken in an instant, allowing Zhao Mai to learn very quickly in a short period of time. She almost remembered everything she saw, and the 9-stage fighting spirit in her body was also flowing like water. Oh my god, I suddenly feel like a genius. So this is what a genius feels like. Although Zhao Mai was not very smart, she was not stupid. She didn't know what method Zhao Hermione used, but she felt so wonderful at the moment, as if she had been enlightened. The fighting skills that Zhao Hermione taught Zhao Mai were indeed not difficult. Zhao Mai learned them after practicing twice. Then Zhao Mai shouted loudly and hit out with a palm, which was also very powerful. The protective shield protecting the fighting skills was immediately broken. Zhao Mai danced with joy. I succeeded. Thank you, Hermione. Zhao Mai not only quickly learned a powerful fighting skill, but also got the fighting skills and skills she wanted. Of course, she was very happy. Congratulations on completing the optional task. Reward basic attribute +1. Zhao Hermione also paid a lot for this reward. But as a worker, Zhao Hermione has long been accustomed to it. Okay, time is almost up. Let's go out together. Zhao Hermione said with a smile. She came to the Tea Pavilion because of the system task. As for the fighting skills here, she has already read 80% of them and there is nothing she wants. She just picked up 2 books of wind attribute fighting skills and exercises, just for show. Yao Lao and Yan's ring did not notice the scene, otherwise Yao Lao would be terrified again. Chapter 522. Zhao Hermione is a pharmacist. Although Tea Pavilion is similar to the back garden in Zhao Hermione's eyes, it is very strict for other Zhao family disciples. Every registration and matters that need to be paid attention to must be strictly followed. Yan is no exception. The selected fighting skills and exercises must be returned intact after 1 year, without any mistakes. After leaving Tea Pavilion, most disciples began to practice hard in order to become stronger. In a world where martial arts are respected, most of the time people practice martial arts, which is different from the superheroes in the Marvel universe. But it is similar to the wizards and witches in Hogwarts. Most of the time every day is spent studying. After all, they are all students. Even if they have learned, they must continue to do research and develop new witchcraft and potions. The key continent is similar. In the original drama, Yan is not a real martial arts fanatic. After he got the plug in medicine, apart from practicing, he spent most of his time flirting with Alexander. However, Yan here does not have that kind of luck, because Alexander on his side spends most of his time with Hermione. Yan can only become a professional martial arts fanatic. Without Hermione's secret help, Yan's cultivation and physical fitness are much higher than Yan at this time in the original drama. After choosing the martial arts in the Qi Pavilion, Yan in the original drama did not break through the 9th stage of Qi after 2 months of hard practice. In the end, Alexander needed to nourish him with the special Qi in her body, and only then was he lucky enough to break through the 9th stage of Qi. On this side, Yan, relying on his martial arts fanaticism, had already successfully broken through. It can be said that, without women in your heart, you can practice like a god. Seeing Yan's hard work, Yao Lao didn't need Yan to play tricks, so Yao Lao took the initiative to propose to help Yan refine the Qi gathering powder for the breakthrough of the dews, and let Yan eat it as beans. Qi gathering powder. Yan still has one, which was brought by Lin Qingyun when she broke off the engagement. In the original drama, Yan returned it when he wrote the divorce letter. On this side, because of Zhao Hemin's intervention, the Qi gathering powder refined by Dan Wangui has been in Yan's hands, and what was returned with the divorce letter was the spicy strips given by Zhao Hemin. 4 50-year-old black leaf lotuses, 2 mature snake saliva fruits, a 20-year-old spirit gathering grass, and a water-attributed 2nd-level magic core. Yao Lao calmly said the herbs to refine the Qi gathering powder, and the tone was as simple as saying that today's lunch should be as simple as adding a chicken leg and a poached egg. But Yan was shocked when he heard it. "Teacher, I don't have that much money." In the original play, Yao Lao had an expression of "I don't care." On this side, Yao Lao encouraged Yan and said, "Go borrow it." Alexander and Zhao Hemin both have it. Yan looked embarrassed. "Forget it. I'm a man. I can't always borrow money from women." "Teacher, you should do something. Let's go to Tamar auction house to auction the spiritual liquid." Yao Lao didn't comment. Although he wanted Yan to continue to test Hermione, he was afraid that this was playing with fire. Forget it. For the sake of his silly apprentice, he should do something with his old bones. With Yao Lao's level, it is no problem to refine dozens of bottles of foundation-building spiritual liquid in one night. However, this thing is rare and expensive. After all, it is taken to the auction house and sold at a high price, not sold in the market with small profits and quick turnover, so he refined 7 bottles. The next day, Yan put on a black robe again and disguised himself as a mysterious man to come to Tamar auction house. He had experience last time. This time, Yif, the chief auctioneer of Tamar auction house, came out to meet him in person. Foundation-building spiritual liquid requires a 2nd-grade alchemist to refine. In the small city of Yuten, alchemists of this level are enough for Tamar auction house to pay attention to and be willing to win over for long-term cooperation. After all, in business, making money together is the best way. Yan was not fascinated by the sexy Yif, but told her what he needed after the auction. Because the medicinal materials for refining Qi gathering powder are not available in ordinary markets, he needs to rely on the power of Tamar auction house to help Yan collect them. When Yif heard Yan's request, she agreed readily on the surface, but was shocked in her heart. This is the medicinal material for Qi gathering powder, and refining Qi gathering powder requires at least a 4th-grade alchemist to be able to refine it. I made a mistake. It turns out that this mysterious alchemist is not a 2nd grade, but a 4th grade? No, the careful Yif also found that Yan's fingers were delicate when serving tea. Although they were not as white as those of a woman, they definitely proved that this mysterious alchemist was young. He is so young, he should not be a 4th-grade alchemist, most likely his teacher. Alchemists all have inheritance, and without a strong teacher, they cannot enter the door at all. Therefore, the alchemist who was talking to Yif at the moment must have an extraordinary alchemist behind him. The next day, the Tamar auction house began to send invitations to the 3 major families. After all, the foundation-building spirit liquid refined by Yao Lao is a good thing, which is hard to come by. so it is necessary to let all the patriarchs of the three major families in Wutan City come to compete. The auction must have many rich people to sell at a high price. Last year, Zhan won the foundation building spirit liquid at the auction, which greatly increased the strength of Yan, a notorious waste in Wutan City. This is the most famous publicity. Of course, the Temur auction house will not miss this opportunity to hype, but in fact, Yan's improvement is not only due to the foundation building spirit liquid. The auction began, and the Temur auction house was still lively today. Hermione also had her troubles, and the several options popped up by the system began to become troublesome. Option 1. Also pretend to be a mysterious alchemist, take out the foundation building spirit liquid refined by hand, and find Yif to auction it. Completing the task will reward you with the exclusive attribute, Refine Medicine, +1. Option 2. Pretend to be a rich man and bid a high price to obtain the foundation building spirit liquid refined by Yan and Yao Lao. Completing the task will reward you with the exclusive attribute, Spend Money, +1. Option 3. After the auction, quietly go to the backstage of the auction to get to know Yif, and ask her to help you collect at least 10 kinds of precious medicinal materials. Completing the task will reward you with the basic attribute +1. I have to say that all three options are difficult. The reward for option 1, Refine Medicine, +1, is an exclusive attribute, but it also has a role. After all, Hermione is secretly practicing to become a pharmacist. However, if she also refines the foundation building spirit liquid for auction according to the task requirements, will it overlap with Yao Lao Yan's? Not only will it cause vicious competition and make the foundation building spirit liquid lose its higher value, but it will also make Yao Lao and Yan suspicious. It's not worth the loss. As for option 2, it's just being a sucker. Although Hermione is a rich woman, she can't spend money like this. The reward is also quite funny, and it also, Spend Money, +1. Could it be that after obtaining this attribute, spending money will be smoother in the future? I feel that this option is just to make up the numbers. Unless Hermione has a brain injury, she will choose this task to do it. Let's do option 3. Although there are some troubles, it will not make Yao Lao and Yan's plan more difficult. The auction began. Yan was different this time. Last time, Yan was still a useless young master and had no right to come to such a high consumption place. But this time, Yan is already an outstanding male representative of the younger generation of the Zhao family. The patriarch Zhan personally led Yan to the auction house. Yan naturally did not refuse. Hermione, Xun'er, and Mai also went to join in the fun. Ning, who had just recovered from his injuries, and his sister Yu also went with them. Yu has been too low-key since the last sword duel with Hermione in the back mountain. Even this time, when Yu looked at the smiling Hermione, she felt as if she saw a devil, and she did not dare to look at Hermione. This devil woman hides too deeply. Hermione knew such a terrifying swordsmanship, and no one else in the Zhao family knew it except her. Xun'er was smart and clever. She took Hermione's little hand and asked in confusion, "Why don't I dare to look at you when I see Sister Yu? Did something happen between you two?" Mai also looked at her stupidly, with a curious look on her face. Hermione stretched out her hand and pinched Xun'er's soft and pretty face and smiled. What could it be? Don't think too much. Chapter 523. Yan starts to pretend. The auction started soon. The most anticipated event for many old men came. Yif had a beautiful figure and a great appearance. Her charming eyes seemed to be able to hook men's souls with just a blink. Her voice was also very pleasant. There were many fans who liked Yif in the audience. Even if they wanted to see their idol, they would spend some money to buy something. Since Yif was transferred from the headquarters, the performance of the Temur auction house in Mutant City has been rising. Yan sat next to his old father, the patriarch Zhan. He felt a little uncomfortable because the auction table was displaying the foundation building spirit liquid. Yif, who was full of business, naturally used him, Yan, for publicity, because it was Zhan, the patriarch of the Zhao family, who bought the foundation building spirit liquid last year. Then, in 1 year, Yan jumped from a useless young master of the Zhao family to the first among the young men of the Zhao family. Yan's coming-of-age ceremony was still very serious, and it was unlikely that he would cheat. Therefore, under the publicity of this condition, the foundation-building spirit liquid naturally became more legendary. The price of this auction naturally rose. Soon, the price rose from 15,000 to 55,000, and finally sold for 100,000, and the winner was Jilbai, the patriarch of the Jile family. They are all rich people. Jilmai sighed as she sat next to the stunningly beautiful Jaehamin. Jaehamin and Jugzunner looked at each other and smiled. The auction continued, and as the treasures were auctioned one by one, the atmosphere in the auction was extremely high. Until the end of the auction, Jile, who had a grudge against Jayan, was next to Jilbai, the patriarch of the Jile family, and was very proud at this moment. At today's auction, his rich father bought him many bottles of foundation-building spirit liquid. I believe that within a year, his cultivation will also explode. So far, the hatred between the villains, Ning, Jilao and Jayan, was all caused by the beautiful Jugzunner. Speaking of this, there is a very subtle detail that must be mentioned. Jugzunner's appearance is indeed the ceiling of beauty in Yuten City. Jilmai may be a little worse, but Jaehamin is even better. I have been in the Zhao family for more than a year. There are men with strong blood and vigor who will make enemies with Jayan for Jugzunner. But why don't men make enemies for Hermione? This is about Hermione's advanced magic radiation, as well as her own attributes, low-key, and hidden. When she was at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, Miss Hermione Granger's low-key attribute was not high, and her advanced magic was not so proficient. As a result, Malfoy kept pestering her, and Ron was also deeply trapped in the dog-licking. But later, as Hermione Granger's low-key attribute became higher and higher, her own influence on the surroundings automatically decreased. Her beauty and charm did not decrease at all, but the obsession and attention of others played a huge role in the attribute of low-key. In other words, at present, the Zhao family knows that Hermione's appearance and beauty are on par with Jugzunner, but there are very few men obsessed with Hermione. It's not because Hermione's charm is not as good as Jugzunner's. On the contrary, she has the appearance and temperament of Miss Granger, which makes her more unique and exotic in the Key continent. It's because of low-key, plus high-level magic radiation that Hermione doesn't like too many men to entangle herself. It's understandable to appreciate her and make friends with her for her good character. However, if you talk about love every day, you don't love me today, I don't love you tomorrow, etc., forget it. It's tiring to think about it. Therefore, Hermione's low-key was originally hoped to survive better, because as a traverser, her words and deeds will definitely be different. If she is paid too much attention, especially by those villains, it will be difficult for Hermione to survive safely with her original strength. It is very likely that she will die halfway. Survive first, then consider becoming stronger. And now Hermione, naturally, does not have to worry too much about survival, and, low-key, has become a way to help her block some unnecessary male entanglements. If Hermione didn't have the attributes of low profile, and didn't use high-level magic to radiate the surroundings, then, with her beauty, there would definitely be many men who would fight for her over the past year. Some women are very bad and like to see boys fighting for her. Hermione doesn't like this. She doesn't need to rely on men to fight for her to prove her charm. Being alone is her highest realm. After the auction, Diane was beaming with joy. The cost price of 7 bottles of foundation-building spirit liquid was only more than 1,000 gold coins, but in the hands of Yif's professional auctioneer, a total of 285,000 gold coins were auctioned. As a successful alchemist, making money is simply too easy. Diane used the excuse of leaving to meet Yif, took the money and the chi-gathering powder medicinal materials prepared by Yif for him, and felt very happy. When he came out, Diane naturally disguised himself as a mysterious master, wearing a black robe, so that others could not see anything. He didn't want to accidentally run into the patriarch Alzan. Seeing that his son had not returned yet, Alzan was worried and didn't rush back. Diane, disguised as a mysterious alchemist, was with Yif, so it was not good to avoid her at this time. If Yif suspected Diane's true identity, it would not be nice. So Diane started to pretend. Yif must introduce the two to each other when she met the Zhang clan leader. When the Zhang clan leader learned that the other party was the master who refined the foundation-building spirit liquid, he immediately stood in awe. The profession of alchemist is noble, and even the Zhang clan leader would treat it with respect. Yan changed his voice and pretended to talk to his father naturally. By the way, he also pretended to hear the rumor that Yan improved 5 levels of fighting spirit in 1 year. After getting the confirmation from the Zhang clan leader, Yan pretended to be a black-robed master and laughed. This boy is amazing. He is a genius. Now Hermione, who was not far away, heard that Yan pretended to be a master and praised himself in front of his father. Such a funny and pretentious scene almost made her laugh. Now Xunner asked curiously, "Now Hermione, what are you laughing at?" Yan, who was pretending to be a master alchemist, also looked over. Now Hermione bluntly said to Xunner, "I'm laughing at a fool pretending to be a pen." Yan was not far away and heard it, and was immediately embarrassed. What the hell? No one else has discovered my identity. Could it be that Hermione knows that I am Yan? That shouldn't be the case. How did she know? Yan once again thought of the words of the old man in the ring. Hermione was indeed mysterious and unpredictable. She seemed to be careless, but in fact, she seemed to know everything. Looking back, it was Hermione who played the role of Sherlock Holmes in the back mountain of the Zhao family that day and discovered the secret of Yan's stagnation of fighting spirit in 3 years. This Hermione is really mysterious. Yan could only sigh like this, but fortunately, Yan knew that Hermione would definitely not expose him. Just like, when Yan knew that Hermione took out ice cream and spicy strips, he knew that she was a time traveler. But Yan would definitely not expose Hermione. Even to Yao Lao, Yan did not reveal Hermione's identity to his teacher. After all, the identity of a time traveler does not need to be told to outsiders. Yan's own identity as a time traveler, he will not tell outsiders. Similarly, he is not so boring as to go around saying that Hermione is a time traveler. Chapter 524 Yif and Hermione. Yan didn't dare to continue pretending, in case he was exposed, so he took the opportunity to leave, and then quickly took off his black robe in a deserted place, restored his identity as the third young master of the Zhao family, and returned to the side of the Zhang clan leader. Seeing his good son return, the Zhang clan leader was relieved to take him away. Hermione, Xunner and Yif, the 3 beautiful girls also went back home. They had a great time playing all day today. But what Xunner and Yif didn't understand was that on the way back, Hermione used the time converter, although she didn't know how to split her body at present. When she traveled through Journey to the West in the future, Hermione would ask the Monkey King Sun Wukong for advice. However, even if she didn't know how to split her body, she could still play a similar function with the time converter. Hermione used the time converter to go back to the past, and this was the first time she used it after traveling through the Key continent. The main reason was that Yan's rough acting skills just now really made people feel embarrassed. Xunner and Mai came with Xunner. If Hermione took the opportunity to leave, he would probably do the same as Yan just now. Hermione thought that he was more advanced than Yan, so he naturally had to use a more advanced method. Therefore, using the time converter, he could travel to the past without anyone noticing and complete the task in the past. That's right, Hermione still had a system option task that he hadn't completed. Hermione, who traveled back, came to the backstage of the auction. At this time, Yif had just sent away the mysterious alchemist played by Yan. "Who are you?" Yif was still a little curious. Just now she remembered that the 3 beautiful girls of the Zhao family were still outside. How come one of them suddenly came to her now? If Yif walked out at this time, she would definitely be shocked. Because outside, Hermione, Xunner and Mai were still holding hands, and the Hermione in front of her was traveling from the future. This is the charm of time magic. In the Key continent, there is no such magical ability. Hello, Yafai, my name is Hermione. I believe you should have seen me at the Zhao family's coming-of-age ceremony. After Hermione's reminder, Yafai immediately realized what was going on. Yafai was also an extremely beautiful woman. Of course, she noticed Hermione. "I remember that you and Xunner from the Zhao family were together. You two were really beautiful." Hermione's beauty naturally made people feel good about her. As for you, It was because Hermione intervened in the feud between her and Zhao Yan. If there was no feud, most people would fall in love with Hermione at the first sight. After all, she was a little beauty that everyone loved and flowers bloomed. Sister Yefei is the most charming beauty. Hermione's words made Yefei stunned, and then she smiled and said, I will take it as my sister's compliment to me. I wonder what you want to talk to me about. Hermione took Yefei's hand very naturally. This pair of beautiful hands made countless greasy men at the auction just now infatuated, but those big pigs had no chance. After all, Yefei was not a woman of ordinary status, and she could not be possessed by money and power. I came here because I was attracted by Yefei's charm. First of all, I wanted to get to know her. Secondly, I wanted Sister Yefei to help me collect 10 kinds of medicinal materials. This was Hermione's task. The names of medicinal materials are generally difficult to pronounce, and it is difficult for people who are not familiar with them to remember so many names of medicinal materials, but Hermione can speak them out without hesitation, and is very skilled. Yefei has been doing business for many years and is very familiar with the efficacy of some medicinal materials. For example, the several kinds of medicinal materials that Yan needs, Yefei knows as soon as she hears them that they are used to refine qi gathering powder. Although the medicinal materials Hermione needed were varied, they were indeed more important ones. Yefei hesitated for a moment, then asked, You can name 10 kinds of medicinal materials without error, so you are also a pharmacist? Hermione did not admit it, but turned to say, On the Qi continent, there is actually another profession that needs medicinal materials besides pharmacists. Doctor? Yefei was surprised again. So Hermione is a doctor? But Hermione also did not admit that she was a doctor, she just mentioned it briefly. I have prepared the money, Yefei. You don't have to worry about me buying on credit. Hermione's words made Yefei laugh. Sister, you are joking. I will arrange it for you right away. Sister, wait a moment, drink some tea. The medicinal materials Hermione wanted were not very difficult to get. After all, she was here to complete the task, so she naturally would not ask for things that could not be obtained at the current auction house. Yefei also attached great importance to Hermione, and she always accompanied her and never left. As the conversation progressed, Yefei became more and more certain that Miss Hermione was not simple doctor, alchemist. Maybe this Miss Hermione has a dual identity. She is knowledgeable and talented, and even knows more about various professional fields than Yefei. Moreover, Hermione has a calm mind and has no intention of showing off. Before leaving, Yefei personally sent Hermione off and said, The whole Yuten city knows that Zhao is as beautiful as a fairy, but they don't know that Hermione of the Zhao family is also as beautiful as a fairy, and is also so knowledgeable and talented. Hermione is a female academic master and hard-working. Although she usually seems to be traveling, when she is not traveling, she does not waste time playing with her mobile phone, but studies. A year ago, she may not know much about the Qi continent, but in the past year, the Zhao family Qi pavilion has been her library. It is conceivable how rich Hermione's reading and learning accumulation is. Yefei is not joking at all. Hermione's erudition and talent are enough to amaze her. Sister Yefei, you are too kind. I just read a few more books than ordinary people. I can't be considered knowledgeable. After saying that, Hermione saw that she had completed the system task, so she didn't stay any longer and left. Turning the time converter, Hermione returned to Zhao and Zhao. In the eyes of Zhao and Zhao, Hermione had never left. But in fact, she had just had tea and talked a lot with Yefei, and her space ring also had the 10 kinds of medicinal materials she bought. Unfortunately, Hermione learned the alchemy from others secretly, and could not get professional books in the Qi pavilion. At present, she has only learned the level of a second-grade alchemist from Yao Lao. If Hermione has a better opportunity, her growth will be faster. But she is not in a hurry. Take it slowly. She didn't come to Qi continent to dominate the world. It's not bad to make a little progress every day. Moreover, Hermione has been promoted from the 3rd stage of Zili to the realm of a great Daoshi in 1 year through practice, which is already a big miracle. If she tells others, no one in the whole Yuten city will believe it. Back at the Zhao family, Hermione left reluctantly. Zhao also said goodbye. Not far away, Now you took a closer look at the scary Hermione, and then quickly hid away. In the original drama, you still wanted to make trouble for Yan. Of course, under the aura of Yan's shameless male protagonist, you in the original drama not only failed to take revenge, but also let Yan take advantage of her. Here, because Hermione intervened, you almost stopped making trouble for Yan. But you couldn't help but keep an eye on this Hermione. She wanted to know how this Hermione cultivated such a terrifying swordsmanship, because Hermione didn't practice swordsmanship at all. But her swordsmanship was so high that you couldn't figure it out. Chapter 525 Sign In and Punch In Yao Lao's Popular Science. There are too many things that you can't figure out. She thought she saw the hidden side of Hermione, and as long as she observed more, she would be able to get closer to the truth. Little did she know that her so-called truth was just the tip of the iceberg for the entire secret of Hermione. Hermione didn't communicate with Yu anymore, although Yu was also a rare beauty. Back to her residence, using magic, she could quickly clean her body, but tonight Hermione wanted to take a bath. She closed the doors and windows and directly took out a high-tech bathtub from the space ring. Automatic integration was a reward for her when she was doing a mission in the Marvel Universe. She knew at the time that this kind of daily necessities would definitely be useful to her in the future. Sure enough, at this moment, Hermione filled the hot water and then soaked in it comfortably. The high-tech bathtub also has a massage function, but Hermione disliked that the bathtub massage function was not humane enough. She directly released advanced magic, and a stream of water turned into two soft hands to help Hermione rub her shoulders and back. This life is very comfortable. Just when Hermione was about to fall asleep comfortably, the system suddenly popped up a task dialog box. There were three options: either to detonate a nuclear bomb over Wutan City, or to go to Yu's room to sleep, or to clock in at Yan's room. In fact, going to Yu's room to sleep was also okay. Hermione had slept in the same bed with Xunner, but Yu had been threatened by Hermione last time, and now Yu didn't dare to look her in the eye. It looked a little difficult, but it wasn't a big deal. After all, Hermione could just release an advanced magic to slightly change Yu's impression of Hermione in his brain. Moreover, if Hermione wore the Mange Kyo Sharingan contact lenses and cast an illusion on Yu, it would have the same effect. Very simple. However, compare the rewards. Hermione decided to punch in and sign in at Yan's house. It was not that the task was easy, but the reward was the second-grade pill collection that Hermione wanted very much. The system seemed to know that Hermione was in the Zhao family, and it was difficult for her to learn the knowledge of alchemy. She could only learn from Yao Lao. The progress was slow. Unlike practicing Qi, Hermione became a grade Qi in 1 year, and she made rapid progress. At present, Hermione's alchemy level is about the second grade, and tonight she only needs to punch in and sign in at Yan's house, and she can get the second-grade pill collection, which is the pill secret book rewarded by the system. Its richness is much more than what Yao Lao knows. When Yan was studying magic at Hogwarts, he already knew that although there were many forbidden techniques in the Hogwarts library, compared with the advanced magic book rewarded by the system, its variety and comprehensiveness were far behind. The magic that Hermione often used was the advanced magic rewarded by the system. Among them, magic radiation affects the perception and memory of others in their brains, which is the top magic in the advanced magic book. By analogy, it is conceivable that the task reward second-grade pill collection issued by the system this time contains almost all the secret recipes of second-grade pills. Even those that are not available on the Qi continent are also in this secret book. Therefore, Hermione must do this important task tonight. As for the task of detonating a nuclear bomb over Wutan City, forget it. If it really explodes, fighting in the sky can directly change the male protagonist. Hermione quickly packed up, put on the invisible cloak, and used the body attribute, hide. Hermione walked by the roadside, and even the fireflies could not detect it. Yao Lao used a barrier to block the outside world in Yan's house. It seems that some private words are being said inside. This is not difficult for Hermione. In Yan's house, Hermione has already left the door key. Yan is the male protagonist. According to the routine of the online game, He is an important NPC. Many tasks must be related to him. For convenience, Diane must have left the door key. Using the door key, Yao Hemin instantly shuttled in. Yao Hemin's ability is above Yao Lao. When she entered Diane's house, Yao Lao did not notice anything unusual. When Yao Hemin heard the topic that Yao Lao and Diane were talking about, she understood why the reward for tonight's punch-in task was so rich. It turned out that Yao Lao was popularizing Diane, the list of strange fires. If there is any treasure in the entire key continent that Yao Hemin is thinking about, there is no doubt that the strange fire is it. So tonight, I can finally hear information about the strange fire. Yao Hemin feels that tonight's punch-in is worth it. There are 23 strange fires in the world, and the Bone Spirit Cold Fire I have ranks 11th on the list of strange fires. Diane, the martial arts fanatic, listened intently. Yao Lao popularized the list of strange fires to Diane while showing his own strange fire, the Bone Spirit Cold Fire. Yao Hemin felt threatened for the first time in more than a year since she traveled through the key continent. In Mutant City, Yao Hemin had no sense of crisis for anyone or anything she met. But when Yao Lao took out the Bone Spirit Cold Fire, Yao Hemin felt threatened by the terrifying flame. This strange fire could hurt her. It might even kill her. As the name suggests, the bone-white gloomy flame, but Yao Hemin couldn't help but want to take it for herself. For the sake of the overall situation, Yao Hemin restrained herself. After all, there is still a long way to go. It must be a nail in the coffin to get your own strange fire in the future. So there is no need to rush. If Yao Hemin took action to snatch Yao Lao's Bone Spirit Cold Fire, at this moment, first of all, let's not talk about whether Yao Hemin's current level of alchemy can absorb it perfectly. Just exposing herself is not worth the loss. Strange fire is different from ordinary treasures. Most treasures can be used immediately after snatching, and this Bone Spirit Cold Fire, just like Thor's hammer in the Marvel Universe, not everyone can lift it, let alone use it smoothly. Now Herman still needs to learn more alchemist skills and collect enough precious medicinal materials to be able to perfectly absorb the strange fire in the future. Yao Lao didn't notice the existence of Yao Herman, who was invisible in the house at all, and he continued to popularize science to Diane. In order to obtain this Bone Spirit Cold Fire, I spent a full 8 years. And I was almost dead. Diane's forehead broke out in cold sweat when he heard it. It took 8 years just to absorb this Bone Spirit Cold Fire. How many 8 years can a person have in his life? It's simply terrifying. According to Yao Lao's popular science, strange fire is simply a dream item for alchemists. Using strange fire to refine medicine is twice the result with half the effort. After Yao Lao popularized some knowledge to Diane, he stopped talking and began to throw the medicinal materials of the Qi gathering powder into the strange fire one by one to refine. Without the help of the strange fire, it might take several days or even several months to refine a fine Qi gathering powder. However, for Yao Lao, who possessed the Bone Spirit Cold Fire, it took less than half an incense stick of time to succeed. Diane looked at the Qi gathering powder refined by Yao Lao, which was more fragrant and of higher quality than the Qi gathering powder refined by Dan Wang Guhi, and immediately praised. "Teacher, you are really amazing," Yao Lao said with rare complacency. "Stop talking nonsense, and use this Qi gathering powder to upgrade to a fighter." Although Yao Lao had sucked away the fighting spirit that Diane had cultivated hard for 3 years, causing him to become a famous waste young master. But now, Yao Lao is a teacher who is dedicated to Diane. "Well, I will definitely not let you down." After saying that, Diane took the Qi gathering powder and left his house overnight, went to the back mountain, and prepared to start breaking through the fighter level. Diane was worried that it would cause too much noise in his house, and was afraid of being disturbed. Going to the back mountain, he could practice with peace of mind. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.